Hello and welcome to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. I'm Dallas Easy Fight today. Joining me in all his glory as per usual, Matt Smite Ross. And it is indeed the playoffs. It's day number 2, Blank Esports taking on AHQ Esports Club. Just to remind everybody, the format, obviously it's 3 best of 7s. Blank currently lead. They're up 1-0. Tonight though, it will be AHQ's turn to return the favor. So Blank Esports, since they finished the regular season, slightly ahead of AHQ Esports Club. They did get day 1 as home. Tonight it will be AHQ playing on that home side, Smite. And it is going to be their first pick, obviously, on map number 1, map 3, 5, and 7. But getting into some of this video content, having a look at some of these player interviews here.
季后赛就差不多要起来了。
I guess it's not a surprise that we're here. We kind of expected to get to this point before the tournament started. We honestly expected to do better, I guess. We're going to be working really hard to win the playoffs as well.
The realization that you can't always win every game, and losses aren't as bad as you think they are. You can learn and improve from them. Like, just watch over VODs and see your mistakes.
Well, I mean, there we've heard it first, you know, coming through from a couple of these teams there, what they've got to work on, and obviously Blank, you know, dealing with some of those losses, which has been sort of, you know, a big thing for them, obviously coming into this tournament undefeated, and then, you know, having to learn how to deal with being defeated on that big stage.
Well, that's a huge thing, right? When you're in a 13-week tournament, an entire league, you have to learn from your losses, because even Flash Wolves, who finished first place, they had some losses as well.
And obviously what a journey it's been for both of these teams so far. Obviously AHQ, you know, one of the tournament favorites, as well as Blank as well. Obviously both really, I guess, we expected to see, you know, coming into the I guess the playoffs in this tournament, but Blank obviously, you know, expected, as they mentioned in their interview as well, to be, I guess, a little bit better than, you know, the result that they've managed to pick up so far.
Well, they did start off that way, though. Remember, they went 8-4-0. They went undefeated in the first round of the round robin, and then things started to fall apart a little bit around the middle. They've caught themselves a little bit here. In fact, they're 1-0 up in the semifinals, finishing off the regular season in second place. So honestly, look, Blank have brought themselves back up, and that's a huge thing.
And I mean, talking about AHQ for a second there as well, you know, came in a little bit shaky with the current meta, but have definitely ironed those issues out. Obviously, yesterday in the best of 7 started off extremely strong, you know, picking up the first 2 maps. Blank did manage to figure something out, obviously, partway through that series. But I mean, for Blank, you know, with the hopes of Australia, and I mean, even a few, I guess, a few players from New Zealand as well, having, I guess, the hopes of the Oceanic region riding on their shoulders, you know, as well.
Well, it's one of the best results that an Oceanic esports team has got almost in the entire scene, right? This is an amazing result so far. Even if they finished here in 2nd or 3rd place, that's still a great result for Oceania as a whole, and we can only go up from here. But I've got to say, the path hasn't finished yet for Blank. They are 1 best of 7 series up so far. They can end it, well, they could end the semifinals here tonight by winning this best of 7.
I mean, look at Trill. He looks ready. He looks ready to drop those ults.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's going to have to drop all of them tonight. Serenity there, also following along too. It's always good to see.
Let's see. This is the real important thing. Have they lined up correctly this evening? Yeah, it's looking a bit better. Looking like there's some better player spacing.
Look, I think
looks like AHQ have done this before, though.
AHQ, no, they're definitely experienced here in this. Blank, though, they look a lot more stern than last night. So you can tell they're coming in with just a lot more confidence tonight. And it was a shaky start. And they have talked about playing live in front of the crowd as well. In fact, I actually caught on Goomba's stream as well. He was talking about it a little bit. He said that it can be a little bit, I don't know, awkward because they're not the home team. I mean, technically they were last night, but they're not the fan favorite at the actual venue, right? Because the Taiwan crowd is going to be cheering for AHQ, and then even if Blank win, they're going to be cheering for Flash Wolves in the finals. So it can be difficult. It can be very hard to hear a huge crowd of people cheering for the team that just wiped you in a team fight, that just took the point off you, and that can be demoralizing. So it is hard playing with that unofficial away
I mean, and not only that as well, there is also the fact that you're on the stage, there's lights, there's a lot of heat, and the fact that you're playing, obviously, a best of 7, back to back, 2 nights in a row.
grueling.
It could even be, obviously, a third tomorrow night if AHQ do manage to equalize the series this evening. The thing is obviously, there's all these lights, it's hot, it's grueling, really being up there. And obviously, having played in the entire OPC for, 4 round robins as well, what a marathon it's been for these teams, taking a look back. An insane amount of Overwatch played, 28 matches for each team throughout the entirety of the OPC.
It's just been an absolute marathon. And these stats that you're seeing right here on the screen as well, this isn't including playoffs. So for Blank and AHQ, you can throw another total of 6 games on top of that, six maps. And that is absolutely huge, right? So these teams have been playing for so long, and a best of 3, best of 7 format for semifinals and finals is just such a marathon. That's the only real word you can use for it. And even if you were to win 4-0 in the first 2 series, that's still 8 games. That's still a long amount of time. But we've already gone to 6 games in the very first round. This could potentially go to up to 20 matches over the entire weekend.
And I mean, having a quick look at yesterday, Control, something that's been historically very strong for the Blank squad, got taken away from them yesterday by AHQ when Blank, decided to take it to Ilios, and the strength of AHQ on this particular map choice was very, very good. Dizzy playing that Widowmaker on the Ruins was insane. And I mean, going over to Hybrid as well on Hollywood, AHQ I would say that was a lot scrappier, a lot closer. Well, both of them were actually very close. I can't really say either were a walk in the park for either side. All of the series actually were just, that's the word of the night, Smite, isn't it? We've talked about this just before. Scrappy. It was indeed very scrappy yesterday. But obviously AHQ started off with a fair bit of momentum rolling through. But Blank, this is the thing, a team that weren't really used to dealing with losses, now down 2-0, managed to come back, pick up 4 games in a row, and take the first series out. Just to reiterate, obviously, the format tonight, best of 7. AHQ, home side, going to be picking maps 1, 3, 5, and 7. Blank Esports obviously picking the rest there. Blank are up 1-0. If they do indeed manage to secure themselves a win, they'll be going on to face Flash Wolves in the grand final next weekend if AHQ equalise, the decider tomorrow night.
And that also, I want to mention just what you said before about Blank dealing with losses, but also adapting in the middle of a series. The biggest thing I want to talk about was, it's going to be Atar. Atar, their DPS player, he started off the night playing on that soldier for the first 2 maps almost exclusively. And look, he's been doing that a lot in the last few rounds of the round robin stage. So look, it's been working, but up until tonight, he's been coming up against Dizzy now. And Dizzy is a fantastic soldier, not just because of his own playstyle, but his entire teams. They bodyguard him so heavily, and every time he needs help, his team is there. And at that point, Atar just wasn't able to keep up. So as the night progressed, we actually saw him swap over onto Genji.
The other thing I sort of wanted to mention there as well was, it was Kalman on the Tracer. The few times, I think it was on Ilios when Atar picked up the Tracer, you could definitely see him getting outclassed there. And I mean, just having a quick look at the payouts actually for the placing here. Pretty intense stuff, obviously. That's, I think, converted first place is about 100,000 USD.
Oh, I think it's more than that. I think it's 272,000, I think. Off the top of my head, not entirely sure on that one, but it is a huge amount of money, and of course, it's also
270 total.
Yes. Okay. So see, I was pretty much dead on, but that is one of the biggest prize pools, if not the biggest prize pool for an Overwatch event so far. That is absolutely massive. That's what these teams are playing for. You also saw on the screen a brief overview of the format that we've been going over, the best of 3, best of 7s, and also you can see that Blank will be playing, or Blank or AHQ will be playing Flash Wolves in the finals, the victor of the semifinals.
It's all scripted. You've given it away.
I have, yeah.
Well, we'll have a quick look at the stats here as well. The head-to-head stats between Blank and AHQ, and I mean, we've already seen their Season 1 results, head-to-head, about 50%, well, they're 50%, across total sort of series played. But the thing is, when you look at it map to map there, 8 wins to 7 in Blank's favor, so slightly edging ahead there and obviously picking up 4 last night. AHQ picking up 2, so they are still over that 50% win rate when it comes map to map, Smite.
Yeah, of course, this is just over the entire season, not the playoffs themselves. Control still in Blank's favor, even though AHQ picked up 1 win on it last night. In fact, Blank also picked up another win, so it's equalized. Assault, traditionally one of Blank's weaker maps, but they did manage to pick up a win on Volskaya last night, but it was their pick, so that may be a different story tonight. And then the rest of the maps look about even, but Escort as well, very heavily in Blank's favor.
So yeah, Blank can feel comfortable, obviously, in these Escort maps this evening. And the other thing to note as well is obviously Blank are Australia's World Cup team, so this is going to be a really good sort of prequel, I suppose, leading up to the World Cup if Blank do manage to get themselves up against Flash Wolves, who I believe all of them, if not
Yes.
a few of them, if not all of them, are indeed Taipei's team as well.
The entire roster is actually the Taiwan World Cup team as well. So if you're looking for a bit of a taste of what you're going to see at the World Cup for those two regions, then tonight you can see Australia, and then next weekend you can see Flash Wolves. Maybe both of them next weekend at the same time as well, which will be pretty great. But
I think a really sort of big point to note here as well is obviously Control generally being Blank's strongest sort of map choice here. Losing that last night to AHQ upon their selection as well, that was quite, I feel, a shocker for a lot of onlookers coming into this sort of matchup here. So I think the big thing tonight is when AHQ pick their control map, obviously, which will be the first map choice, can Blank manage to pull the swindle? Can they pull one up on AHQ and pick themselves up that control?
well, easy. Let me tell you, they've already swindled a map choice on Control away from AHQ. Last night, when we went to Lijiang Tower, Blank actually came out on top, and that one was AHQ's pick. It was a nail biter of a match, though. It was just barely in Blank's favor at the end. In fact, I believe we may even later on see that as the play of the match for last night, which was just about 2 to 3 minutes of overtime. It was absolutely crazy.
Well, let's hope our casting voices can last us that huge length as well, if we can match against these players' endurance there. But what I mean to say is, AHQ feeling very confident, I feel, now on Ilios after picking that win up last night. And what I feel was, Blank were very strong in it, but even, watching these games, from the outside, I suppose, it felt that AHQ, I guess, had a stronger understanding of the map as a whole, and those fights that they sort of gave away, they knew they could come back and answer quickly. Will they be feeling strong to pick Ilios tonight?
See, the thing is, I think you're right, because AHQ as a team must have clearly been practicing for Ilios. Everyone knows it's Blank's map. They've been practicing it. They've been literally saying in the interviews, this is our map. We love Ilios. And so, of course, AHQ, they're going to start learning how to deal with Blank on that map. And Blank, like a little bit of a predictable team in the fact that they did end up picking Ilios. AHQ were prepared, and they win the map. In fact, it was 3-for-1. They took out Ruins the most convincingly, which I was surprised at. I always saw that as one of Blank's strongest stages on Ilios. So if you're AHQ tonight, I wouldn't be surprised if they actually did pick Ilios again.
And then I guess, it really falls onto Blank because Edop's Widowmaker is obviously very strong, but I feel like Dizzy really had his number in that matchup last night and was obviously looking for him in all those, I guess, predictable spots as well. And so I think that's going to be a real cool matchup there. Edop facing up against Dizzy, but taking a quick look at the rosters, obviously we've seen the big dogs AHQ, we've seen the big dogs Blank. It's now really on a few of these players. They're really going to have to come up big tonight to really push their team either for Blank over the edge or for AHQ to equalize. But Kalman was so very good last night on that Tracer.
Yeah, a lot of big pulse bombs as well, stealing a lot of team fights for AHQ, and even the team fights that they'd already lost, they came back in with a fighting chance off a lot of Cowman's pulse bombs. I mentioned them before as well. There's Dizzy, the soldier player who,
Mr. Dependable,
in a way, almost forced Atar to swap over onto the Genji to force Blank to play something a little bit different because it wasn't matching up to Dizzy and AHQ as a whole for their playstyle of just looking after that Soldier 76.
And Carez on the Sombra as well last night. Got to give mad props to him because his Sombra was so very good as well. I really have to say the positioning and the timing of his EMPs was absolutely crucial. I think it was one that we were watching as well together when he sort of removed the entire sound barrier, which was pretty insane timing from him.
Yeah, of course. You've always got to predict that one going in, but Eriken as well, just on the tail end of the roster there. The dependable main tank. We'll talk about him a little bit once we get into the series, because the Gunbeard himself is here. You can see he's been growing it out over the entire series.
I love it there. Kiki falling into his element again, on that diva, really had to step it up, coming up against the likes of Lazy Titan, who's been such a consistent diva for AHQ, but now Kiki very, very good. Obviously, Eat Up as well. Generally, I'd consider him to be the star of Blank. He's really fallen into that role, really stand out and really consistent.
Yeah, Eat Up, though, on Ilios, we'll talk about the first map a little bit as well, because, look, if we go to Ruins again, he's got to step up his Widowmaker game, because he was getting out-sniped by Dizzy for a lot of that. There was a few other factors, which we'll talk about if we do go to Ruins again, but there's Trill and Serenity trying to poke in behind him as well. And then, right on the end there, Aita has played Genji for the majority of Season 1, has slipped into Soldier a little bit more recently, but look, tonight against AHQ, I would not be surprised if right off the bat, even on Control, we're going to see him stick to that Genji right from the start.
And someone else that we didn't really talk about in those player interviews, and I mean, if you're a fan of Blank, you know him, you know his name, Big Trill Dog. He has been so flexible for the side of Blank. He's really allowed them to, I guess, change their general composition. He's obviously a tank player, he can play DPS. I mean, we haven't really seen him play support too much. I feel like that would be almost a waste of some of his, I guess, of his talents.
Supports do their job too.
They do.
It takes a lot of work.
I don't want to take anything away from the support players out there at all, but I feel that he's quite a vocal player when he is, I guess, initiating a lot of these fights, and as Winston in the last few weeks has definitely shown that. But AHQ going to be taking it to Lijiang, wanting some revenge for last night's Lijiang matchup, I feel, Smite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, it did go to the very last second, 2 maps apiece and right into overtime. And the 4 other maps before that as well, it's not like they were close either. Blank and AHQ fighting back and forth, back and forth. So look, this is a map that was very tight. Blank managed to inch ahead just barely and take the map out, and it actually secured the entire best of 7 for them. But look, AHQ are still showing clearly, look, we're very comfortable on this map, we can beat you on it, and in a bit of meta strategy, if we do get all the way to map 6, which is the next time we'll see Control during this series, then if AHQ are still comfortable on Ilios, then Blank are in a tough position. Do they still pick Ilios in that situation where they say, look, we got kind of wrecked on Ilios last night, do we pick it again, or AHQ still comfortable in it? And then you're putting the choice, the tough choice, into Blank's hand, whereas AHQ can just say, yeah, Lijiang Tower, why not?
Well, indeed they can. Moments away though now from getting into Lijiang Tower. I'm super hyped for this because obviously AHQ are going to be looking to answer back with force from last night. They are not going to be too pleased with dropping Lijiang and obviously losing that series to Blank. And Blank now have had that night to sort of go back to the drawing board. Look, what wasn't really working for them on Control. I mean, they did manage to pick one up, but it wasn't as convincing as they've been throughout the entire Season 1 of the OPC.
Yeah, a lot of differences will come out tonight, of course, because it is AHQ as the home team, so the map picks are going to be widely different. On Control, we can already see Lijiang Tower. We had an example of that last night, but when we get to things like Assault and Hybrid, which is where the picks are going to be completely different. We're not going to see Volskaya for sure, and Hybrid could be a completely different set of maps as well. So, look, we may be in for some differences, but a little bit of similarity with Lijiang Tower off the bat, and I do talk about how it may affect the series later on, where Blank are forced into an awkward decision. But first up, on Control, Blank's traditionally best map type. They're going to have to bring it back.
They're definitely going to need to for that confidence coming into obviously day number 2. First map going to be Lijiang Tower. And I mean, I think the real sort of matchup here is going to be all eyes on Atar. Eat Up's very, very consistent when it comes to his DPS play, but Atar though, if he goes for a Soldier, if he obviously goes for something a little bit different towards his Genji, a lot of eyes are going to be him to sort of convert, I guess, really break in those kills for the side of Blank. And at the same time as well, if AHQ have worked out Atar's Genji, they're going to find themselves in a spot bother.
Yep, and here we are on the first map of Lijiang Tower, all eyes on Atar. But if you look over on AHQ, you don't have to have your eyes on this. You know what he's going to be doing straight off the bat. You can keep your eyes onto Cowman, see what value he can get out of a Tracer. We're right out the gates, and it is Atar sticking to that Genji, and this is what I like to see, adaptation coming out from Blank.
Well, it is one of the weaknesses that AHQ have mentioned, playing that full dive comp, but Blank not feeling like that's a weakness of their own, really thriving when it comes to that full dive. That communication of these guys for being together for so long, and it's apparent here, Blank getting early position onto the point.
And that's important because now AHQ have the onus on them to dive on, use their movement abilities, get them on cooldown, and then Blank can react with their own.
Oh, Gumba had to be careful there, almost getting taken out as Kalman goes in for a bit of a poke, and AHQ coming up with the kills here, managing to demech Lazy Titan, but that's not going to be enough. But now these two tank players, Kiki and Trill, going to be answering back, finding themselves a couple, but it doesn't matter though, as Dizzy and Kalman are just all over these remaining Blank players, and they get themselves that first cap.
And a pretty one-sided fight as well by AHQ, but I've got to say, Kalman did a majority of that damage, and he already had his ultimate halfway through that fight. So now Dizzy is only barely past halfway on his ult. Blank are coming up to the ults on their DPS players, but they've still got at least one fight before they realistically come into play, unless this fight goes for a while, and Atar can survive to get his Dragon Blade.
And the positioning coming through from Blank is quite decent here. They have managed to catch Kalman out on the side, so we will have to rethink this flanking route here, as Blank going for the full wraparound now, looking to take this fight onto the point, right on top of AHQ. Trill going to be getting things started here as Kiki manages to find Dizzy, and this is a great start here for Blank as the Dragon Blade comes out. There is that Transcendence being forced out from Careers, but is it going to be enough to push the rest of the team through, as Blank obviously have the DPS to really take it to AHQ in this one?
Perez really just buying his team a little bit of time because Blank still have the numbers advantage. Dizzy did use his ult before dying, but only lost 15% of it, so he will come back into this fight, will get his tactical visor up during it, but
and this is really good for Blank here, forcing out all of these AHQ ultimates. Now going to be using that sound barrier of their own just to really secure this engagement for them. Getting that recap, AHQ though, picking up 63%, so not a bad first hold.
They did end up buying about 20% more on the point by throwing those ults there, but now you've got to ask the question, how are you going to take it back? You've got to start going with economical pushes, because now you're fighting into Blank, who are going to have a lot of ults up of their own, but they don't have any defensive ults up. No Transcendence, no sound barrier.
Eat Up starting it off well there, finding Careers as he tries to catch around on the side flank, and now Atar looking to get right on top of Eric here, does manage to fall back to the rest of the AHQ side, and again, Blank buying themselves some more time, Smite.
But time is really all they got out of that. They didn't get a huge amount of ult charge out of it because it was just a Zenyatta. But as I was saying before, they didn't have Transcendence, they didn't have Sound Barrier, but they are coming up just a little bit closer to that. AHQ have to get Dizzy in very soon, using that Tactical Visor before either of those ultimates are really available. And then that's not even considering Kiki and Defensive Matrix.
Yeah, they really have to find that DMech onto Kiki before they even try to get that Tactical Visor out, unless Kiki is way out of position. But it's going to be very interesting to see as well, because Atar just gets himself the Dragon Blade just in time for this next engagement, and Trill jumping right in there, getting the party started, and indeed Blank already picking up a couple of kills onto Kalman and Careers, so this is going to be very difficult for AHQ if they try to commit to this. Dizzy running away with his tail between his legs, get caught out as Eat Up looking for dinner, hunting these last few players down, finds Crappy as well, and AHQ forced to reset, and now Blank have now passed the percentage of AHQ and are looking strong.
Sitting at 75%, AHQ realistically only have one more fight to go. They don't have the opportunity to wait for demeching or trying to force out Transcendence. They just have to go in, hope for lucky picks, hope for these pulse bombs to get value.
Well, that Transcendence coming through, going to be looking to push this fight ahead for Blank, as Gumba's going to commit it to this. Careers did use his own as well, but Atar now with the Dragon Blade to counter out that. They've already picked themselves up too, but AHQ answer themselves back very quickly. Eat Up so close to this pulse bomb, looking to pick up Kalman, who's forced out of the fight there. Trill will find the kill onto Dizzy up in the back line, so that's a very important kill, as now no soldier for the side of AHQ as they look to force their way into this fight. The rest of these Blank players though on the point, turfing them out of this one. Overtime ticking down, won't even let Crappy touch the point, and Blank pick themselves up the first stage, Smite.
And some really good play from Blank out of there. I've got to say, in the overall sense of it, Blank definitely came out clearly on top there, picking up the map win, but AHQ, the opening fight was a lot better for them. They got in there, got those early kills, but they just threw too much at the point when they were trying to hold it against Blank.
And that, I think, was the key mistake coming through from AHQ there, when Blank really answered back there, managed to pick off a few of these players, and obviously a lot of ultimates committed for AHQ when they weren't really going to do anything with them, and just had no real way to get themselves back onto that point. And I mean, you've really got to love to see the crowd cheering up, firing up there for Blank, as obviously they picked themselves up that first map.
Of course, a lot of the crowd are going to be cheering for AHQ as well, because they want them to win just as much as maybe the one Australian in the crowd there. But look, AHQ, they're coming in the control center. They've done this before. It's going to be the Sombra pick. And this is what will shut down ATAR, will shut down Eat You Up if they ever get hacked. They're basically walking ultimate charging machines.
Well,
if they
Blank
get
getting very aggressive at the start, not letting Karez get much position at all to hack those health packs. They're going to be doing a decent job, but AHQ answering back, finding Gumba and Eat Up. So this is going to be now very difficult for Blank to hold on to this. A lot of this is going to come down to RQT. He needs to keep himself alive in this engagement. You can see Dizzy trying to pick him off, gets that kill as Kalman comes flying in right at the end. And now AHQ looking very strong to cap this on the first point, and indeed they do.
Oh, making the choice though, Blank just jumped right in, trying to contest. They've already lost the point like you said, and now they've just handed over once more a whole lot of ultimate charge to AHQ. Dizzy's close to his tactical visor, and Karez, he's already got EMP, so that can just tide them over for one more fight, and then everyone else will end up with their ultimates. Blank though, they're coming up to Pulse Bomb, they're coming up to Dragon Blade, so they didn't do too badly in that sense.
Things were a little bit frantic in that first engagement, and Blank get a little bit split up as that EMP now comes through from Karez. Look at Dizzy sitting up safe on his high ground balcony, just looking to rip into the side of Blank, and there it is. Nice pressure coming through from the likes of Trill there, but it won't be enough to knock him off his perch. And now the tactical visor, and this is all AHQ just going to be cleaning this fight up. But Blank though sitting pretty on these ultimate Smite.
Dizzy really keen to get a few extra kills there. Tactical visor, perhaps not the most necessary there, but look, it is just a tough position for Blank to take down Dizzy. He's always so incredibly safe. He's always got Karez nearby, a hacked health pack nearby, just to keep him safe from those diving heroes. But look, Blank, double DPS ultimates. They've got a sound barrier to keep those two alive as they dive in hard.
Everything's up now for the side of Blank. This is a must-win fight. Here comes the Nano Blade, and ATAR not finding anything right now. This is a huge mistake and a self-destruct right into his face. They do manage to pulse bomb Eric out of this fight, and now the sound barrier as well from both of these sides, just looking to push this fight ahead. But it looks like Blank are slowly edging themselves out, have halfway on the cap also. So this is surely now going to be coming up Blank, unless these few AHQ members can get themselves back into the fray. But 80% for AHQ, this has been an immaculate first point hold.
AHQ are surely going to get past that crucial point where if they retake it once more, they will end up winning the stage here. Look at this. They're at 90% already. They're going to be very close to 100%, if not at 99%. There it is there. 93%. One fight win and AHQ should take it here. They can run into the next fight, throw it an EMP, and just try and build up the ults for Dizzy, for Kalman, and the rest of the team as well, because why not? They're also going into a team that doesn't have sound barrier up just quite yet. So look, they can definitely charge up a lot of ults here. This is going to be the big one.
And Karez just looking to set up for a really big EMP. And for Blank, this is going to be such an uphill battle to hold on to this point. Just passing 25% now, no real huge ultimate advantage. And again, getting very aggressive. Karez right in the back lines, finds that kill onto Gumba, still hasn't committed the EMP just yet. Now it'll be used to finally try to take up Eat Up, and indeed they get that kill. So again, important stuff there is now ATAR very low, needs to escape out of the fight, and that's it for Blank. The DPS players are gone. Dizzy with another tactical visor, looking just to get that broom out and clean up the rest of these Blank players here. The nano boost coming through. Going to be all or nothing on this one. Kiki looking to keep Blank's hopes alive. Now a sound barrier as well. Blank looking to hold onto this as AHQ gets so close to recapping, but now Blank have an answer and they're making it look easy here. But that EMP is now disaster as these few Blank members are running back into the point. Eat that EMP and there's nothing they can do at all. AHQ recap, overtime ticking down, and this is looking like AHQ are about to equalize Smite.
That was still a desperate last push by Blank. Even though it looked a little bit flashy with the sound barrier, with the nano boost, it was still desperation. They weren't able to get in time. And now that composition that AHQ are playing shuts down Blank in another way, right? You saw Dizzy sitting out on the outside, very hard to focus down. You had to send in heroes to dive him, take him out that way. But he had Karez there. Tracer comes in, Genji comes in, suddenly they're hacked and they've lost all their mobility and they're very, very easy targets to take down after that. So it's a tough ask for Blank against that. What are they meant to do? Bring out ATAR on Soldier instead, where we've seen he just doesn't perform up to Dizzy's standards, or leave him on Genji, where he's vulnerable to being hacked?
Well, we'll have to see as we're coming into stage number 3 now. And they do indeed make that change, Smite, throwing ATAR over onto the Soldier, but Karez back onto the Zenny.
Yep. ATAR on Soldier here, I don't disagree with it. It's a great map for Soldier himself. It also is ready for any potential Pharah play as well. But look, we saw a triple boop out of AHQ last night where I believe it was Crappy just throwing 3 people off the edge. Probably not
they
gonna happen
already
tonight.
lose Trill and Dizzy with finding him with that Helix rocket. It's a great start again for AHQ. Now Blank need to decide if they want to commit for this position or they're going to fall back. Surely now, as they find these kills, they need to fall back, Blank. They need to have a little bit better communication in this regard.
Well, look, I mean, if you're Blank, you've lost the opening fight in all 3 maps so far, so they should be okay to back out because they know they can come in and retake the point. They didn't get a huge amount of ult charge out of that last one, so they are going to have to come in. But the big thing is that AHQ didn't get much either, so this is going to be a repeat of the first fight, right? It's an ultless fight, but Blank can make the result a little bit different. They're going in through the white room. This is going to cut off a lot of Dizzy's line of sight.
That's very true, but now Kalman does have that pulse bomb, so they've got to be careful if they stack up. They need to really watch their spacing here because we've seen Kalman do it time and time again. Get 2, get 3 with that pulse bomb. So we'll keep an eye on that. But Eat Up as he finds careers. Now Blank answering. Here we go. On the point, there's a bit of a tussle. Diva versus Diva. There is indeed going to be Eric as well on that Winston. And now the Tactical Visor up for ATAR. If Blank can keep him alive through this engagement, they're so very close to recapping this away from AHQ. They're finding the kills as well. Get that recap. And what a huge re-engagement coming through from Blank there.
That's incredible, right? Blank got in there, used essentially 0 ultimates, in fact, not a single one, and they took the point away from AHQ. Pulse Bomb went wide for Calman. He didn't find anything out of that. So now it's AHQ who have to move in to a team of Blank who have a ton of ults. The Pulse Bomb finds Dizzy.
That's huge there for Eat Up. What an absolute machine. And now Kalman caught out by himself a little bit. There will be no real continued pressure being put on him as he makes his way back to the health pack. But Ultimate's looking quite even now on both of these players as Trill hits that Primal Rage, looking to finish off some of these players. Lucky he's got Kiki. And again, Career's taken out early before the fight starts.
And just throwing the Primal Rage into that room, not only is it incredibly dangerous for AHQ, it's also buying Blank a huge amount of time because AHQ have got to run around, try and get out of the building, try and deal with the Raging Monkey, and then even then we saw Trill could just jump back to the point anyway. So it is an ultimate, it does buy them a lot of time, but it also had the potential of just getting very easy kills.
But now AHQ looking to take a page out of the Blank strat book, looking to do the exact same thing through the white room, but that's exactly the difference, Smite. 6 ultimates here for the side of AHQ, so pay attention. Will they go for a full commit, or will they try to space these ultimates out? Kalman throws the Pulse Bomb, doesn't come up with anything in this instance here, and now a lot of this is going to fall onto Dizzy's Tac Visor. Kalman almost dropping out of this fight. Eric going to be having to use that Primal Rage. There comes the Transcendence as well into the sound barrier of the side of Blank here. Kiki still holding on to his self-destruct as Gumba hits his Transcendence now, and Blank looking to push their way back into this already found Kalman, and a few of these other AHQ members have to fall back. There goes the mech as well, and Blank should be able to hold on to this, just passing 84% Smite.
And 6 ults don't mean a huge amount if you throw away 2 right at the start and get nothing out of it. Pulse Bomb missed. The Primal Rage, Blank just put a Discord Orb on Eric and focused him down straight away, and he was dead before the fight even began. And then the ults were even anyway. Blank, they've got to win one more fight to take Gardens.
Wow, nicely played self-destruct. Lazy Titan, he's done it before and he'll do it again, taking RQT out early into this fight. AHQ, a must-win battle is overtime. Ticking down now for them. RQT obviously out of the fight. Gumba looking very low. Kalman looking to get himself in a great position. Eat Up gets taken down. Dizzy with the Helix rocket. Huge aim coming out from this man right here. The pressure from Trill to try and help out ATAR, but it's not enough here as AHQ clean this fight up and get the cap back.
Blank, they did use a lot of their ults in that previous fight, so they don't have a lot of gas left in the tank, but Eat Up, he's been big with the Pulse Bombs before. He has the chance to do it one more time, but look, Calman, the pressure's on him too to do the exact same thing. This is going to be Blank's choice here. Do they build up a few ults of their own, or do they die to Pulse Bomb?
Well, Gumba actually finds Kalman as he leaps over the side there. Great balls of fire right into Kalman's head there, and the double Pulse Bomb from Eat Up is going to surely secure the recap now from Blank. They do indeed have it. Is there any AHQ members that can keep this overtime alive? Eric can make a mad dash to the point, keeps it alive only just for the side of AHQ here. These players are just trickling in their tactical visor from ATAR, surely enough to seal the deal as Blank take a lead 2-1.
That map was quite heavily in Blank's favor there. My favorite fight though was where they held up against 6 ultimates from AHQ, and they just targeted so perfectly. When there's a Primal Raging Winston, yeah, 1,000 hit points sounds like a lot, but when you do 50% more damage because of the Discord Orb, you can actually focus them down pretty quickly. D.Va as well will do a lot of damage if she can get very close. So look, we saw him jump in and he died about 2 seconds later. So look, Blank recognizing, hey look, we can just do this. We can also get 1,000 hit points of ultimate charge, by the way, as well. And then they just stayed in there through the rest of the fight. It was a good hold by Blank.
And I absolutely love Gumba's Zenyatta right now. This is the big difference coming into stage number 4 here, is that Gumba actually opting to go with the Zenyatta this time instead of the Ana. So this could be the change that Blank were looking for, but obviously AHQ were very strong the last meetup here, so let's see if they can do it again. Again, very early aggression coming through from Blank, but are they coming up with any kills now? Can AHQ answer back and punish this early aggression?
Blank needs to take the fight away from these health packs so that they can just deny any ult charge for AHQ, but also the survivability that those hacked health packs bring. And they've done just that. They can also stand on the point, force AHQ to come into them.
Yeah, they've done quite a decent job at splitting up AHQ, and this is quite decent for them here, but no, AHQ do have control of the outer balcony yet again. Lazy Titan finding Gumba, but actually Blank answering back, demecking Lazy Titan, actually finishing him off completely. Eric out of this fight as well, and now Aita really looking to hunt down Dizzy. Same with Trill as well, and this tag team, this dynamic duo of players really trying to put that pressure onto Dizzy. Indeed, he'll be forced back. Kalman did get himself a mech in this engagement, but it's not going to be enough as Blank pick themselves up the first cap smite.
Yeah, and actually RQT getting the majority of the ultimate charge in that fight too. Sound Barrier will be ready, but it's going to be into an EMP. So it's really going to be a game of chicken. What's going to come out first? The Sound Barrier to survive, or the EMP to simply brute force a fight, win with the silent status that comes out from it. So AHQ, they've got a choice. Do they wait for the Sound Barrier, or do Blank just get a pick at the start?
Well, it looks like Blank get the pick at the start as Karez sent back to the spawn room, and now Blank looking to get a little bit aggressive just in front of the point here. Keep AHQ at bay for a few extra seconds as they wait for Karez to make his way back.
Playing Sombra into Zenyatta is very different to playing it into Ana. You've got to worry about sleep dart, and that's about it when you're playing against Ana. But against a Zenyatta, Discord Orb makes the potential of one-shots a lot more deadly.
And Atar just sitting up on the high ground waiting to get his Dragon Blade. Ooh, almost gets taken out there. And that Pulse Bomb from Kalman onto RQT is a great start here for AHQ. Forcing Atar down. Trill sent back as well. Here comes the EMP to follow up. And surely now Blank going to be forced off this point. This is a recap here for AHQ for sure. Indeed it is. Blank on the reset.
And once RQT was down with the Sound Barrier, there was no way Blank were coming in for a fight win there. So they do back up, but AHQ wanted to secure the rest of the kills, so they threw out the EMP, which is just an ult that's going to be back up by the next fight regardless. It charges up so quickly. But Blank, they held on to their ults for a
Blank
long
not
time.
wasting any time here. The Sound Barrier as well as the Dragon Blade, and they also used the Transcendence here as well. So both defensive ultimates being committed here for the side of Blank. Self-destruct as well, looking to really fight back here onto AHQ and not give them any percentage to work with onto the point, and indeed don't even let AHQ get 30% as now Blank have recapped, and Kalman just waiting in that sneaky flanking position, wasn't able to get himself into the fight in time.
A lot of ults used by Blank and at the same time as well, but they do realistically only have to maybe win one more fight if they play this out right. So they've kept an alright amount of ults, but look, AHQ can definitely win this fight. They've got a lot of their own.
Well, here comes the Sound Barrier from AHQ. They do have that Pulse Bomb and the Tac Visor as well to work with. They're not really coming up with much here as that Sound Barrier just forces Blank slightly off the point. Nice Pulse Bomb, but it gets eaten. Unbelievable stuff there coming through from Kiki as he stops that one in its tracks. There's the EMP. Now AHQ need to come up with the kills, and indeed they are. They pick themselves up a triple, but now Blank answering back, but Kalman just going to absolute town here. No one to really put enough pressure onto him. Kiki out of the mech. Can he find enough with just the pistol? Not at all, and now AHQ recap looking very good, Smite.
Blank though looking a lot stronger on Control Center this time around, and AHQ used absolutely everything they had in that fight to take the point away from them. They will get EMP up once more. They will have the Pulse Bomb ready for the next fight. Blank can dance around this next fight until both Pulse Bomb and Dragon Blade are ready to go, but do they wait for the defensive ultimates to keep Atar alive?
Well, they might not have time as Kalman. Oh no, the Pulse Bomb does not connect with any of these support players hiding along the side there. Now Kalman, a lot of pressure being put onto him by Eat Up. Great stuff coming through. Now Atar with the Dragon Blade looking to finish Dizzy off. It will be that right there. Picks the double up as well as Eat Up just in time takes out Kalman. And so now Blank really looking to recap this point as AHQ getting close to 100%, but they might not get much more than 91 here as now Blank back in control.
and they're going to be able to push forward as well. They've only got one more fight to win, and then they can take out not just the stage, but Lijiang Tower as a whole. They're going into AHQ, who do have an EMP, but what is it realistically going to shut down? He needs to hit both Edup and ATAR to really shut them down, because everyone else isn't really going to care too much about it. RQT can just hold the sound barrier. Never mind, it goes out.
The sound barrier coming through from RQT. They need to come up big here as Kariz looking to make his way in with the EMP. Can't find position just yet, as Blank really looking to set themselves up in a good position here, forcing Dizzy straight out of the fight there. And indeed, that's going to be huge now for Blank as they pick up Kalman, they pick up Dizzy, they take Crappy out of this fight as well. The EMP comes to no fruition there at all. Overtime ticks down, and Blank pick themselves up Lijiang Tower and a 1-0 lead into the series, Smite.
And that one, despite the map still being quite close, Blank is looking slightly better than last night as well, so ever improving. They take out the first win. Play of the game, probably just going to be a Winston throwing people off the edge, but look, I've got to say everyone is still playing really quite well tonight, and look, this is still going to be a tight series, I've got to say.
Now let's not take anything away from Eric's Winston here, you know, did a little bit more than just throw people off the edge, but indeed, what an exciting first match to get us started this evening. Very, very close. You know, obviously AHQ did find themselves an answer there. They did pick themselves up a stage, but Blank looking a lot, I guess, cleaner overall, managing to pick themselves up Lijiang in 3-1 fashion.
3-1 fashion is still pretty convincing. It's better than what they got last night on Lijiang Tower. They went 3-2. So yeah, once more, it's an improvement. It's Blank getting better and better as the series goes on. Because remember, we're still actually in the middle of a series, right? This isn't just the very beginning of it. Last night was a best of 7 as well. It's the entire format of this series is 3 or potentially 3 best of 7s. And Blank starting this one off strong is keeping the crowd silent, that's for sure.
I guess the real question is as well, you know, the same thing happened last night. You know, Blank picked the first control map, AHQ take it away from them, and now, obviously, if Blank pick themselves up, you know, their own map pick, which will be map number 2, will it be a repeat of last night? Is it the curse? You know, you pick up the first 2 maps and then you end up getting reverse sweeped.
Ooh, I don't know, man. That's a dangerous call to make, of course. I don't think Blank are going to believe in the curse just yet, because throwing the first 2 games away is probably a bit risky, but look, it is similar to how last night started. In fact, actually the very same scoreline, but we'll take a look at some of the replays throughout Lijiang Tower as well, because there were a lot of interesting fights. And here we have Gardens, which was the 3rd map, and there's the double pulse bomb, right? I mean, 2 kills like that is going to secure any fight for you, and it's just the butter on your toast when it's the fight during overtime.
That just reminds me of something there, but I mean, that was a very convincing and a very, I guess, fitting way for Blank to close that stage out. You know, it was a very dominating performance there. They lost that first fight coming into it, but then, you know, were able to answer back through their attack through the White Room. And then the thing was when AHQ tried to do the same thing, since Blank, I guess, were feeling themselves just that little bit more, could really work out, you know, what that offense was, really had the tools of the trade, let them come through, and then just counterplayed those ultimates that AHQ threw at them, you know, over and over and over again. They just counterplayed it perfectly.
Well, they were standing quite far away, in fact, out in the open in the courtyard, but the thing is, the White Room didn't have line of sight on it, so Dizzy's already out of the picture, right? His tactical visor isn't going to do much. You're not going to throw out your 2 defensive ultimates until the fight's actually begun. And so you initiate with your Winston to throw them all around, get them into line of sight for Dizzy to get a lot of value, and also put your own team on the point. But what ended up happening was Eric just got focused down on the Winston even during Primal Rage, and by the time the fight had begun, he was dead.
And taking a quick look again at this replay as well, this is surely, you know, when Blank was sitting in control, and then I think this is when AHQ find themselves the answer when they throw themselves onto the point.
Yeah, this is, the pulse bomb onto RQT, and this is where Blank should be realizing, look, we've lost our sound barrier, we should probably back out of this. AHQ punish their lack of retreat, they throw out the EMP, and this allows everyone else to follow up. And while Dizzy already has his ultimate, players like Calman, even Erican, they want to charge up theirs too. They want some of the glory as well, and so EMP will allow them to do that. And that's the value you get out of EMP. It's an ult that you can just throw out whenever you really feel like it. It's not as punishing to waste like a tactical visor or a nano boost is. If it doesn't connect or you're not going to get a huge amount of value out of it, then no big deal. You just get it up for the next fight.
I think the other thing as well that Blank did extremely well here on Control was their ability to sort of focus down Kariz. You know, there's so much I guess priority, and you've mentioned it as well, when it comes to protecting Dizzy in these engagements. And sometimes it looks like Kariz, you know, if he's not playing Sombra, he's quite, I guess, left open and left, you know, because obviously on Sombra he's quite safe, he can keep himself alive there, you know, just with that consistent translocator poke. But when it comes to, you know, him on obviously different heroes, different supports, they really have a great system in dealing with him, taking him out, and then they can switch that pressure onto Dizzy.
Yeah, I definitely enjoy the Sombra style of protecting him, specifically on Control Center. Against Blank, who you know are going to run the Genji, the Tracer, you can protect them that way. But we've got another replay coming up. And this one, it's on Control Center, the same map actually. And this one is, I believe it's the last fight where Blank come in, they take the point back and end up winning. But I believe it's an EMP where it doesn't actually find a huge amount of value. No, this is just the same fight as before, isn't it?
No, this is completely different.
This is different. This is different, right? It was, yeah, AHQ come in, they get a lot of kills off the bat, right? And they're still also holding the point for a lot of this time, which is great for them. Blank struggling to find this. Blank have also used a lot of their own ults, but the big thing was AHQ used a lot of their own. And you know, I talk about EMP, you can throw it out a lot, but you can't just throw it out whenever you want. Like, yes, it charges fast, but there's still that window of opportunity for a team to rush back in and try and take another fight before you've already got it up.
Yeah, I mean, and that was when I started worrying for Blank, you know, coming off the back of that fight. But that, I believe, in the next engagement is when they don't waste any time. Because Kalman, I think, in that situation, after that fight, manages to push really far forward, get himself in quite a decent, you know, forward point. But Blank just rushed through the choke point and charged straight back onto the point and take that early kill. And then Kalman can't even get back in before he's already one member down onto his team. And so I think Blank have a really good way of reading the tempo of the fight, you know, when it looks like AHQ want to sort of stabilize and set up for what looks to be, you know, another slow push, maybe an ultimate building push for the side of Blank. They don't need ultimates to win, and they've shown that time and time again.
And that's actually a bit of the story for Lijiang Tower as a whole tonight, is that Blank were, I'm not going to say all of their fights, but a lot of their fights they were just winning straight away from getting a kill right at the start, not using ultimates. There wasn't a huge overall decision-making victory there for them. It was just, look, we killed your dude, and we're going to be able to win.
We killed your dude.
We killed your dude. You heard it here first, folks. That's how we win Overwatch. Kill the dudes. But I mean, it's true, right? It's if you lose one or two members right at the start and the enemy team didn't even have to use ultimates, you either have to overcommit your own ultimates to try and bring the fight back into your favor, or you just lose the fight. And both times, well, every time that happens, Blank are completely happy with it.
And I guess the other thing as well is, you know, Kiki, you know, a little bit of an unsung hero, got a few eats of some pulse bombs in that series as well. And, you know, it's just the little things like that. You know, it's sometimes hard to catch it on the camera, but Kiki, you know, falling into his element, being a very core part, I guess, of the offense as well, you know, really helping Trill and Atar when they're trying to get those dives working out really well. He's definitely there to sort of just clean things up. But Blank leading the series 1-0, obviously a different start compared to last night. Now coming in to map number 2, it is indeed going to be hybrid. It will be Blank Esports' turn to pick this map as well, Smite. So what do you think we're going to see?
Ooh, I'm not sure if we're going to see Hollywood. That would be a little bit awkward. They did end up losing that map last night. Not getting a lot of progress on the payload either, but we've got a lot of other maps to go through. You know, Eichenwald, King's Row is the most likely option, but we may even go to Numbani, even though AHQ have proven they're happy to go to that map too.
Well, we'll see what we're going to get for this hybrid right after the short break, right here on Full Circle. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. I'm Dallas Easy Fight today. Joining me, as per usual, my partner in crime, Matt Smite Ross. And it is indeed the playoffs. It's day number 2. Blank Esports taking on AHQ Esports Club. We're coming into hybrid, and it looks like Blank are going to be taking us to King's Row, which was indeed a very dominating performance last night coming through from Blank, so really looking to get themselves a decent lead into this series, already up 1-0, looking to make that 2-0.
King's Row is one of those maps where it can go very one-sided, right? A team can be first held at that first point, or they can just steamroll through and get a huge positional advantage on the streets phase, giving them a lot of time in the third checkpoint. Blank picking this one up is kind of interesting to me, right? Because I talked about this a bit before the break, and I did say King's Row was the most likely one for Blank to pick up, so I'm glad I'm right. But also, it means they're not picking Numbani, and it means that they're not confident in saying, even though we thought Numbani was our hybrid map, our favorite one to go to, we're not picking it up against AHQ because AHQ just feel too comfortable on that map, so King's Row instead.
And I guess the talking point before we get into this one, Smite, is the fact that Blank have sort of been hit or miss when it comes to Kings Row. There's been times where there's sort of been unbeatable on Kings Row. There's been times where they've looked incredibly beatable on Kings Row. So I guess it's going to be very interesting to see now, you know, if AHQ have come up with, I guess, an answer for the ATAR Genji, because that sort of seems to be the real icing on the cake for Blank when it comes to this. You know, the Widowmaker on point number 1 on Eat Up. What can, I guess, AHQ do in this?
Yeah, a lot of options that Blank are going to be able to bring out on Kings Row through each and every checkpoint as well. But also, AHQ are no pushovers on Kings Row either, right? They've shown that they can look unbeatable on the map itself as well. And I'd say their first point hold is usually one of the better ones we've seen in the entire OPC. Didn't look that way last night, but look, it keeps Dizzy safe up on the high ground. And look, that's been the story of AHQ as a whole, right? They look after Dizzy, but the difference on Kings Row is that this is where Dizzy will ask for help. This is where he'll say, come up and help me, guys. And if he doesn't ask, they won't go up and help him, which means that they keep the defense on the ground safe, so Blank can't just storm onto the point and just demand an answer, because there will still be people down there. But also, it means that Dizzy is going to stay safe, because anytime he does need help, the communication, it's almost like it's telepathic. It's so quick. As soon as Dizzy's in any trouble at all, and he actually needs help, Lazy Titan's up there to help him.
And I mean, this is the other thing as well, is that I think Blank are well aware of this at this point, and that this is what I feel is their job, you know, really put ATAR up there, try and get him contesting Dizzy, and really, I guess, get some of these AHQ players to overcommit, and then once they do that, you know, they're going to try to jump into the back line and take out some of the squishier heroes while, I guess, Dizzy's like a little bit distracted. But the thing is as well, is Blank feel like a very momentum-based team, and if AHQ don't really put up a very good first point hold, let, I guess, Blank work their way into, you know, the payload section, and if they give them any momentum off this, obviously, you know, this is the case with all, I guess, teams that play, you know, any kind of payload map, but Blank are one team that definitely excel when it comes to, you know, rolling with the momentum.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, that's another thing as well. I'm not going to put it all on AHQ either. Blank need to do this as well, is recognizing when that first point is gone. So many teams have come back in and said, yeah, we can go in, we can contest, and they go in for a last-second defense, and while there's some hope of it working, they go in, they contest the point for maybe an additional 20 seconds at best, and then they lose their entire team. Anyway, they lose complete positioning on the second checkpoint. They have to fight an entire team fight to even contest the payload, because the entire attacking team is pushing so far forward. So it's going to be on these teams calling to say, look, this first point is gone, we're not getting it, we need to come back. It's a long respawn when you're on the second checkpoint.
Well, we are indeed just moments away from getting into Kings Row, map number 2 in this best of 7. Blank Esports taking on AHQ. This is indeed now Blank's pick, so expect Blank to come out swinging on this with a lot of strength, and obviously AHQ, if they manage to upset Blank on this, it's going to be absolutely great for them to equal up the series.
I wouldn't even call it an upset for Blank, for Blank to lose on this map here on Kings Row, right? Both teams equally likely to win here, right? There's no strong contender to just come out straight on top. If anything, I'd edge it slightly towards AHQ, but either team winning here is not an upset. These teams have been so back and forth. We saw it in the series last night. Every single map out of the 6 maps that we saw were incredibly close. So tonight, Kings Row, I've said it can look very, very one-sided, but even last night it wasn't. So both teams are going to be putting up a fight. And look at this. Maybe we might be seeing Dizzy on the old Widowmaker.
Well, Blank are going to be playing the defense first, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see Dizzy on the Widowmaker, because we've seen Blank sort of go with this Widowmaker offense, and I mean, AHQ have most surely looked at some of those VODs of the way that Blank attacked this first point. And Dizzy being such a strong Widowmaker last night on Ilios, I really expect big things coming from him.
Yeah, the difference is, though, it's not a Widowmaker versus Widowmaker this time. It's a very different thing to do it on Ruins, where the maps are symmetrical. You're now going into a defensive position here. But Blank, they have to recognize, look, Dizzy's on this Widowmaker. We cannot step out of position.
Well, indeed they do. They jump right past Kalman there, looking to jump straight on top of Dizzy there. Don't manage to convert that into a kill, but now they are indeed aware of that Widowmaker pick, as now AHQ looking to gain themselves position onto the cap, now force this fight out from Blank.
The important thing is it takes away so many good positions for ATAR. He can't sit in those windows. He can't sit and just shoot at the choke point either. AHQ have picked up the first kill onto Trill. This is the numbers advantage they need.
Indeed they do, as Kalman already has a pulse bomb to work with, and this is an absolute disaster now for Blank, as they've really allowed AHQ far too much room on this first point and put way too much pressure onto Dizzy, who did a great job at baiting out some of those early leaps from Trill there. And look at how Blank just get picked apart, and they don't even have to commit anything to it either, Smite.
And not a lot of retreat out either from Blank. They do get some respawns to get in close on the second checkpoint here, but realistically, they're not going to be able to mount a defense for at least another 10 seconds while people are still running back. This gives AHQ the opportunity to get in position, push forward, and with a Widowmaker, who has Infrasight, by the way, is
and
now
a great position.
Now going to be able to deny Blank any kind of defense here.
Not only that, Kalman, he did throw the pulse bomb out, didn't manage to turn it into a kill, but Dizzy will find that one onto Gunba, and now the rest of AHQ with this player advantage, just looking to take it right to Blank. Surely ATAR's not going to be able to get himself out alive with this, and indeed he doesn't, as the mech now falls from Kiki as well. They do manage to get out the Primal Rage and that Infrasight, but I mean, it is only Infrasight, and Dizzy still sticking on that Widowmaker, Smite.
Well, Infrasight also won them the fight there, and Gumba poking his head out is a crucial mistake that now Blank are paying dearly for right now. They will get one more defense, but they've essentially given up the entirety of the second checkpoint here. They can come back in, but what have they really got to go with? A pulse bomb? That's inconsistent at best. They've got a sound barrier, which will buy them a lot of time, but really, that's risky.
And there comes the nano boost from Gumba, throwing this one out to get this fight started, but there's a transcendence for the side of AHQ, so they're not going to find too much room as they look to push into the fight there on the side of Blank. Now the pulse bomb getting thrown out there by the likes of Eat Up doesn't connect at all, as AHQ doing a great job at retreating and baiting out these few ultimates that Blank have left. Trill forced to use the Primal Rage as well, as now Dizzy just looking to set up and rain doom on Blank, as they've got nothing left. As I say that though, there comes that self-destruct. Doesn't connect, but they find that kill onto Keras, and every time that's happened, this is when Blank come back. It's going to be ATAR with the Dragon Blade, finding Dizzy as well. Now Eat Up looking to go to work and get paid, and getting paid is what he does best right now, as AHQ getting forced back, and now Blank stabilize their defense.
In fact, AHQ are they're forced into the subway here, trying to go back to the defender's spawn, thinking it's the next round's not here yet, AHQ guys. You're going to have to still win this one. But Blank, they do mount a defense right near the end. They do have good respawns here. ATAR, he only got one kill with the Dragon Blade, but it's the breathing room that they needed. Every kill at the end of a checkpoint matters for so much for the defending team. Now Blank have stabilized, they've got sound barrier, nano boost once more, so once more they can stall for a lot of time. Trill will be coming up to his Primal Rage as well. In fact, Blank, they're looking like they should be able to hold a few more fights at best.
Well, still 2 minutes 40 left on the clock for AHQ, so they do have a decent amount of time to work with here on cap number 2. And look at Eat Up in a great position, throws the pulse bomb out. That's going to be a kill, and indeed it is, taking down Crappy early into this fight here. There goes Eric as well, as he tries to jump his way to safety. Lazy Titan throwing out a self-destruct, doesn't connect with anything, nor by AHQ much time at all, but they actually answer back, taking out the mech and indeed Trill, so no tanks here for the side of Blank. And now Kalman versus Eat Up in that Tracer v Tracer battle, but Eat Up with the stronger positions, going to be forcing these players back. But as I say that though, Eat Up looking again to get in a defensive position. Nice sound barrier to keep themselves alive through that pulse bomb there. And now the ultimate's building for the side of Blank. If they can keep themselves alive through this transcendence, they might be able to answer back. Self-destruct being thrown out there from Kiki. Doesn't connect anything. Here's the nano boost into Dragon Blade. Or is ATAR just going to hold on to it? We'll find out, as he is indeed just going to hold on to this. Nicely played, I feel, there for ATAR. Just really baiting out this fight from the side of AHQ, seeing what they've got to work with. Nothing, and he knows it. Goes in with the Dragon Blade, but there's a sound barrier. So great counterplay coming out for the side of AHQ, but it's not enough to keep them alive through all of that damage, Smite.
They do trade it for the sound barrier and still win the fight though, and this is putting AHQ in an awkward position. Blank are actually getting additional kills here, which is going to stagger them even further, charging up the ult here, and AHQ, they've said something has got to change, and it's Sombra time. They're bringing out Keras on this new, on Sombra. This is, AHQ have been bringing this hero out more than any other team, and I think it's a treat to see, but how are they going to make it work here?
Well, with only a minute left, he's going to hope that he can get some hacks out and build that ultimate up for one Crucial fight for the side of AHQ. Dizzy holding onto that tactical visor. Going to be interesting to see where he's going to put himself and unleash that. Looks like he's trying to take the high ground here as Atar getting himself into a great position to snipe Crappy out of this fight, and will indeed make it out as well with his life intact here. What a great dive now coming out from Blank, picking up those 2 kills, buying themselves more time. 30 seconds left here on the clock, Smite.
Blank won that fight so hard that Dizzy was sitting up in the window and he just noped out of there. He wasn't going to use tactical visor. Good call for him.
Huge.
But that mech now down is devastating for AHQ. They still have all their other ultimates, but now Lazy Titan's going to have to spend an eternity getting back into his own one. There's going to be no defensive matrix. Eat-Up is going to have free reign to throw out a pulse bomb. It's not going to get eaten.
Yeah, he's holding down that flanking side very well. Eat-Up is now, he throws that pulse bomb out. It's going to take Lazy Titan before he can even get back into the mech, as the self-destruct did indeed come out there, I do believe, but it won't find anything for the side of Blank, but it doesn't matter, as the tactical visor now actually coming through from Dizzy, going to turn it around for the side of AHQ, doing a decent job, but there is that defense matrix, but it's not long for this world, and AHQ with their backs against the wall, the overtime is ticking down, but they're coming out on top. Blank just blowing a few ultimates a little bit too early and not committing everything into this fight here, and somehow, someway, AHQ are surely going to be getting the second cap off this.
And the decision for Blank to stay in there as well, throw a few more bodies at the point, it is just handing over more ultimate charge as well. You can see Dizzy's already halfway towards his next tactical visor. That was a good move out from AHQ, who, by the way, are still building up to another EMP too, which is going to be big at this point. AHQ, it's likely they might even change their team composition up after one team fight here, but they don't have a lot of time. As you said, 1.5 minutes. They want to win the first fight they can.
Well, there's the nano boost into Dragonblade. Let's see what he can come up with this one. Picking up 3 here. Atar, the man, going to be getting things done for the side of Blank. A lot of breathing room now. Under 1 minute left on the clock. And Dizzy still looking to build up for that tactical visor. Meanwhile, Blank sitting pretty on a pair.
Dizzy, once he does get that tactical visor though, will be able to use it without worrying about defense matrix, because EMP is available for carriers. If you can get that to hit Kiki, and only Kiki, that's still worth it, because then Dizzy can go to town.
Oh, an absolute disaster now for Blank as they lose Eat-Up into this fight without any ultimates being committed here for the side of AHQ. As I say that, the EMP coming through now, this is it for AHQ. They actually lost Crappy in this engagement. Tactical visor not finding much mileage at all, and great sound barrier now coming through from RQT at the perfect time to really push Blank through this fight here. The Primal Raging Trill managing to catch Eric in the corner, looking to hunt him down. The health pack trying to save him, but it's not enough, and with 10 seconds left on the clock here, Blank are looking in a great position to stop this offense coming through from AHQ.
And the fact that AHQ got to the third checkpoint, it's great for them. They're not very likely to get, okay, they do get overtime here, but this should just be Blank cleaning it up. But the payload's position is pretty early for a third checkpoint. Hang on, I'll hold the phone a bit.
Yeah, AHQ have done some absolute wizardry before. Can they repeat the magic that is indeed AHQ here? The Primal Rage now from Eric, looking to take the fight ahead for AHQ. What do they have left to work with on that defensive end? The sound barrier has already been used here. The Dragon Blade from Atar not finding too much at all. Oh, somehow connects with Dizzy as he runs past him. He's going to be kicking himself for that one. And now Blank looking to swing momentum into their favor. Trill with another Primal Rage. This man is just on absolute rage mode today here, not wanting to give anything away for AHQ, taking out Eric there, but they do lose a mech in the process, so somehow AHQ do have a little bit to work with here, still trying to contest this point, but the player advantage definitely in the way of Blank, and the momentum is on their side.
And remember, that overtime is going to tick away incredibly quickly. Oh, it almost made it there, but AHQ can't leave the payload for a second, because that's what happens. They do end up losing it. But back to my point before, is that AHQ made it to the third checkpoint, which is great for them considering that they were in overtime at the end of the second checkpoint, but they didn't get it too far during the third checkpoint. It's about an average result for that amount of time, so they didn't do anything too spectacular. It's about the distance the payload's going to make it before the first fight begins, so Blank with a consistent hold there for 1.5 minutes.
I mean, you see the look on the Blank players' faces as well at the end of that defense there, you know, smiles all around, even though it looked like, you know, they should have got a 0.2 hold. It still looks like they're happy with that result. And I think they feel confident in being able to push this one further than AHQ managed to.
Can you imagine, though, if they didn't give away the first point pretty much immediately, right? And that can make all the difference here as we move Blank onto the attack. They're going to have to take the first checkpoint almost as quickly as AHQ did. Otherwise, they're going to struggle through the streets phase, and then suddenly, if they even get to the third checkpoint, that's going to be a good moment for them because it doesn't have to go very far. Even the minimal amount of time you get on the third checkpoint during overtime is 1.5 minutes. And that's plenty of time to get it as far as AHQ did. So if Blank can get it there, that's fine. A good time on the first checkpoint is going to be required, and I've never seen this photo before.
Never forget.
Never forget Wandara.
But I guess the other thing to note here as well is that Blank can always do very well when it comes to obviously getting it to the payload section. You know, it could be an overtime and we could see them push it all the way to the end. The thing is though, is that they've traditionally struggled on taking this first checkpoint. They've either done extremely well and done it extremely quickly, or they find themselves in an extreme uphill battle when it comes to taking this first point. So if AHQ do manage to get themselves a decent bit of stable defense off this first push, who's to say that they might not get a full hold?
Exactly. I think AHQ will definitely be looking for that. It's their best hope at getting a win here because if Blank take the first point, I'm calling it now, they will take out King's Row. They're going to have to move up because remember, AHQ, they're running Reinhardt composition. It's not quite a triple tank, but Dizzy is going to still be very protected.
Well, Dizzy looking like he's trying to get away right into the open arms of Kelman, and they take Eat Up out together. That's a great play there for AHQ. Really going to be setting up this first point defense, but Blank not looking to give away any position just yet. Have managed to secure this high ground away from Dizzy. Now looking to push in as a team, but there will be Eric N looking to welcome them with an open arm and open hammer here in this enclosed room, but the pressure very strong with that Discord orb on him. Can't really find too much room to take swings into the side of Blank.
He's going to have to get up into melee range and cause a mosh pit because otherwise just standing down there, like you said, with Discord orb on him is going to lose it for AHQ. Blank, with the respawn advantage, they're going to be able to regroup incredibly quickly. They've forced AHQ back off the point into the attacker's position.
And now Blank in a very strong position to get themselves onto the point. As you can see, almost making it
One-third.
1/3, and they've managed to get that. There is indeed going to be that nano boost sitting onto Kerez. This one's going to have to come up big for the side of AHQ as the tactical visor's still a little while away. Now Dizzy taking the fight straight into the side of Blank there. Atar somehow surviving through that fight there and forces that sound barrier out for the side of AHQ, still holding on to the nano boost. The tactical visor from Atar coming in, and it needs to come up big here. Finding that kill onto Crappy will be a decent start as Kiki across the other side finds Kerez, and the rest of AHQ are quick to follow, and now Blank picking themselves up the first cap unless a miracle for AHQ can happen.
Easy, I think we've seen this before. This looks just like AHQ's first push. They did do it a little bit faster, but Blank, even with the slightly slower time, will still be able to push forward. They don't have a Widowmaker here to get the guaranteed one shots, but they still have just the raw manpower to push forward. AHQ, they're still bringing out the Sombra once more, but...
Oh, they catch out the Sombra before she can even set up any hacks out onto these packs, and this is great now for Blank, and this is what we've talked about before, Smite. Look at this momentum for the side of Blank. So very aggressive.
This is so dangerous as well, because what are you going to do with the Sombra composition at this point here? You're not able to push forward because you have to wait for those health packs. You've got to use them, set up a position to defend on them, but if that position you're defending on is nowhere near the payload, suddenly that is just devastating because Blank will just push it all the way through.
But now AHQ have got themselves out of the danger zone, and the Maverick that is Kerez just looking to get himself in this good position here. If he had that EMP, that would have been a massive spot for him to throw it out. There is that now tactical visor up for Dizzy, but he gets taken out by that pulse bomb from Eat Up, so that's now again a great start from Blank. Here comes the EMP coming through, but it doesn't matter when they just need left clicks. There is a few trades coming out for the side of AHQ, but without Dizzy in this fight to really mop things up, it doesn't look like AHQ are going to be edging themselves out of this one here, unless Kalman can come up big. He's dishing out plenty of damage, but it's not enough as he escapes narrowly, as now Dizzy makes his way back into the fight. Tactical visor picking up Eat Up here as well, as the payload just gets itself around that corner of doom, but AHQ managing to stabilize.
Blank very smartly do back off after that, though. They did lose one member, and really you have to have your full force here to take out the checkpoint here. Well, and with 1 kill, 2 kills, that's enough.
Getting Crappy and Dizzy is absolutely huge for them, as Kalman not really able to find a good pulse bomb position, and now Lazy Titan getting demeched as well. As Eric's out of this one, the rest of AHQ are going to be quick to follow. The pulse bomb a little too late there from Kalman, as now Blank get themselves the second cap and don't have far to go now, Smite, with 4:20 left on the clock.
That last defense could have been the nail in the coffin for AHQ because now they have to rush to the payload. They can't set up position, they can't set up health packs, they can't set up for the perfect perfect team fight. They just have to get to that payload and contest it because it is inches
Oh,
away.
and Eat Up is doing it again. Smite picking up the double there onto Karez and Crappy with that pulse bomb. Cheeky's going to be finishing off Dizzy. The transcendence there just to add insult to injury. Oh, just runs out at the last second. Lazy Time connecting with that self-destruct. Kalman can't touch the point. Little boot coming through from RQT, and that's going to be that. And Blank picking themselves up King's Row in a very convincing manner.
What did I tell you? Blank takes first checkpoint. They get it all the way to the end. Not even much of a hiccup during the second checkpoint. Just a calculated retreat coming out from the boys from Oceania. So 2-0 up in this best of 7 tonight. Blank, they're on fire.
I mean, it's a good building of momentum, I suppose, for Blank now rolling into this best of 7, because now it will indeed fall back onto AHQ to pick the next map. But having a look at this play of the game here, Big ATAR with the Nano Blade. This was obviously, a bit of flashy play here, but we've talked about this before, having that Nano Boost coming through onto the Blade, putting all your eggs in one basket. And I mean, thinking back to Control, I believe there was a play there as well where they threw out the Nano Blade and it connected with nothing and it ended up losing them the fight there. So it's a big... it can come up big, or it can send you back home.
There's a lot of things that can shut it down as well, like a sleep dart will shut it down, just someone shooting you in the head, even with the nano boost damage reduction, it can just shut you down, right? All those things have made a lot of players moving away from Genji, moving on to Soldier instead. It's a lot more consistent. You don't have the best move in the game. Sure, you're not going to get 4 or 5 kills unless the enemy team is completely out of position, but look, Genjis can get a lot of value out of it, but they can get shut down so easily, like you just said.
But at the same time, it obviously works out very well for Blank here. ATAR being one of the best Genjis, obviously, we've seen in the entire OPC, and it's shown right there, Smite. And I mean, now Blank going to be feeling pretty good, but AHQ now looking to equalize. It's going to be Assault, and I mean, this is something that Blank have, really struggled with over the, I guess, the entirety of the OPC. So it's going to be interesting to see now if AHQ can obviously equalize.
Yeah, so this is actually the position.
I shouldn't say equalize because Blank lead 2-0. So.
Exactly, they're going to have to get it after
do a
2
lot more
maps,
than
right?
equalize.
Right, but look, this is the exact position that Blank was in last night. 2-0 down, and then they came back and won 4 maps in a row. And they were also the home team. So AHQ have the potential to do that. So look, AHQ definitely not out of this best of 7 at all, but King's Row, what a map.
What an absolute map it was. I mean, you've really got to give credit to AHQ there when they managed to get that cart over point number 2. That was just unbelievable there. I really felt that, they had no chance, no way of doing it. But I mean, I guess we'll get to see it in the replays there as well. Just a few of the finer points as to how they actually managed to get that one over the line there. Maybe a little bit of a misplay from Blank, but I really feel that it was obviously AHQ's strengths that took Blank by surprise.
So straight into the replays here, and this is going to be HQ on the attack, right on the first point as well. You can see Blank, they're trying to contest Dizzy on the Widowmaker. They don't get him, so they say, look, we'll just head back to the point, it's okay, but look at their positioning.
And this is where you actually see it as well. See Dizzy up in the high ground here. You'll see, I believe it's Trill going to be leaping out right onto him, gets caught out in this position here, gets taken out. You can see AHQ just absolutely demolish him there, and that's what really seals the deal on that first piece of defense for Blank or offense for AHQ.
Well, I mean, look, a Discord orb on him. He got shot by Widowmaker. It wasn't quite a headshot, but it still does a fair chunk of damage. Suddenly, this is actually what Blank did on Gardens on Lijiang Tower. They just focused down the Winston, and this isn't one using Primal Rage either. Dizzy gets the majority of the kills during this fight as well, and we talk a lot about how Infraslate, it's not the most impactful ultimate in terms of just straight up winning you a fight, but if the enemy team isn't aware of it or doesn't play into it properly, then they do get punished for it.
Well, the other thing as well is if your Tracer keeps his Pulse Bomb from Cap 1 and then you throw it in for side, it obviously allows him to get the perfect Pulse Bomb, which is exactly what happened there. I mean, he did throw it out, it didn't connect and actually come up with a kill, but it obviously keeps, I guess, the efforts and the attention onto Kalman. They're watching out for him coming through with the flank, taking a look again at the replays here. Still Blank on the defense, and this is the, I guess, last ditch effort. And I mean, it really comes down to that EMP, which was absolutely huge. I mean, the sound barrier as well, but
the Pulse Bomb also only connected onto Lazy Tide. Baby Diva, not the most threatening thing in the world. But look, when Dizzy came up, he started using Tactical Visor, picked up a kill onto the tank. ATAR somehow died in the middle of that. There was no assist either from anyone else. It was just, look, that was just Crappy getting a kill, which was pretty good for them. So, look, it was a last-ditch attack coming out from AHQ because remember, they also started that fight off with Diva out of mech. and he never ended up getting back into the mech, but it did absorb an ultimate. It did absorb Pulse Bomb, which, you know, we saw it before. Double kills can come out of that thing. So the fact that it was used on a Baby D.Va, not the greatest results.
And I think the fact they lost A-Tyre as well, you know, that's always it's always a bit of disaster when you lose him.
That inconsistency that we're talking about with Genji, right? It can just happen.
Most definitely, obviously, that's what happens when you, I guess, are on Genji and coming up against a team like AHQ. I mean, we saw it, the way that they used, obviously, Dizzy as the bait, obviously, on that first point attack. Well played by them, obviously, to know, I guess, the way that Blank play, you know, very aggressive, looking to pick off that Widowmaker before she sort of gets comfortable in that position. And they do a great job at, you know, counter diving onto Trill as he, you know, leaps up into the high ground.
It's actually something that a lot of teams have been adapting when they do run a Widowmaker onto assault points like that, because of course that's the assault portion of King's Row there, is just bait out the defense onto diving onto your Widowmaker, just kill the guys that dive on top of him, and then suddenly you've got a numbers advantage. You can just attack the point. I mean, after Trill went down, we saw Dizzy get the majority of the kills, and that's because no one could get on top of him. No one could stop Dizzy from doing anything. Blank were forced to try and run onto the point to contest it, and Dizzy had 100% line of sight on that thing. So there's no hope of them surviving with those headshots.
So, I mean, I think if they work their way around that Genji sort of, you know, you have to put A-Tyre on Genji to perform. I think if, you know, A-Tyre can fall into a few more flexible roles, which are, you know, on the level as someone like Dizzy or Zonda that can play some of these other heroes as well, this is what's really going to set Blank ahead, especially when it comes to their defense. But when it comes to offense, you know, we just talked about AHQ having a very strong sort of offense there. Blank's offense might take them a little bit longer on point one, but once they get that payload rolling, man, does it roll.
It took them a little bit longer on the first point, but I'd say it was like fight 1.5 that they actually won it on, because
True.
Because technically the first fight they lost Eat Up. He died at the start of that. That's okay, because you respawn right there. You just come back in literally 12 seconds later, and then you're basically back in the fight. But we'll have a look at the next three player, which is going to be Blank on the attack, as I'm quite sure. And this is where they've already steamrolled into the second checkpoint. A pulse bomb onto Dizzy, who has tactical visor, who should have been the saving grace for that fight, is where AHQ should have come back, but Blank secure it with that pulse bomb. And this is where AHQ got desperate. You saw a pulse bomb, an EMP come out from Kerez, and they were just trying anything at all to slow this payload down. And while they get a kill here and there, it is actually enough to hold the payload up for a brief moment at that second checkpoint, the end of it, right? So they do hold off, and again, it's like half a fight that they held it for, because it was one kill onto Eat Up again, I think, and then Blank just tactically retreat and come back in once he's ready.
And the other thing as well, though, there is, you know, I think Blank are quite happy with that sort of EMP, you know, being used into that fight and them losing just a couple of members, because I feel like if AHQ did hold that EMP for the next fight to have Dizzy, you know, ready and waiting with a tactical visor, things would have been absolutely different, rather than just picking up a couple of kills and managing to stagger that payload. But that is now indeed Blank leading the series 2-0 against AHQ. When we return, it's going to be AHQ's map pick. Going to be map number 3, Blank taking on AHQ Esports. We'll see you after the quick break. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship playoffs. I am indeed Dallas Easy Fight Today. Joining me, as per usual, Matt Smite Ross, and we're watching Blank Esports take on AHQ Esports Club in the second best of seven, which Blank do indeed lead right now, obviously picking up the best of 7 last night. Blank currently leading the series 2-0, and now AHQ Esports looking to get themselves their first win, picking Volskaya Industries of all maps. Again, looking for redemption against Blank from last night's result.
Well, that just totally throws my prediction out the
I was going to
window.
be like, they need to go to Anubis. They need to go to Anubis.
I was going to say Hanamura, right? Anubis is
You're
also
actually right,
okay
you're
for
right,
Blank, but
you're right.
look, Hanamura is a map that Blank have actually had quite a lot of trouble on, even against AHQ as well. I believe it's where they suffered. It was the series that they suffered their first loss in the OPC, and Hanamura was part of that problem. So the fact that AHQ are picking Volskaya against Blank, who, by the way, in the best of 7 last night, it's the assault map that Blank won, is very interesting, right? It shows that AHQ have to be confident on this map pick because they themselves know that Blank are happy to pick it because they picked it last night. Blank know that they're confident, so AHQ are saying, we are the best on this map specifically. We're not picking it because Blank are weak on it. We're not picking it because we won it last night. So AHQ have to have something to pull out here. They know we've been seeing so much Sombra coming out from Keres, so the fact is, Sombra is one of the stronger maps for that hero. So that could be one of the contributing factors to why they've picked up Volskaya. But this is, oh boy. If you didn't watch last night, you're in for a treat.
Just to remind everybody as well, is that yesterday Blank were indeed the home side team, and they were the ones that picked Volskaya Industries and picked themselves up that first win to get themselves back on the horse against AHQ, who were leading the series 2-0 at that point as well. So it's very interesting, as Smite was mentioning, to see that AHQ are taking it back to Volskaya, to see obviously if they've now been able to work out what Blank did last night, and really try to get some, I guess, revenge in this situation as well. And this could be the turning of momentum for AHQ if they do manage to pick themselves up this win on Volskaya. But again, on the other hand, if Blank manage to secure this, just one more map away from that grand final.
We've got to wonder what Blank themselves are thinking as well, because they must be a little bit shocked at this map pick coming out. They would have definitely been practicing for Hanamura just to make sure that if AHQ did bring it out, then of course they'd be ready for it. But the other thing is, unless we go all the way to map number 7, I believe, we only see one assault map. So look, Blank are okay on Volskaya, right? It wasn't exactly like it was one-sided though. So AHQ picking it is still all right. It's similar to how they picked up Lijiang Tower, even though they lost it last night. They still felt that they were more confident on that map than Blank were going to be because it was close last night. So the same reasoning will apply here, but let's remind ourselves, in map number 1, Blank still beat them on Lijiang Tower tonight.
The other thing as well is, this is where AHQ can really make Blank pay for that overconfidence. If Blank are getting all giddy in their seats right now thinking, oh, they've picked Volskaya, we're just going to do it again, boys. And obviously AHQ have managed to change things up and come at them with something a little bit fresh, a little bit new, a little bit surprising for the side of Blank. This is where obviously when Blank, who are an extremely aggressive team, we've seen this, and especially the few maps we've seen tonight, really showcase that aggressiveness that comes out for the side of Blank. If they get a little bit too aggressive and give AHQ too much of an early lead, AHQ are very, very good at playing that long game.
And here's the other thing, right? Because it's also the freshest assault map in AHQ's memory of where they've last seen Blank, Hanamura for Blank has been quite a while ago now, so they've also got the freshest data on what Blank play on this assault map. So they know what Blank are going to do when they play on Volskaya. So like you said, maybe they've worked it out. Remember, there's been a full 24 hours since we've seen both of these teams play here. So AHQ surely have gone home and said, look, Blank did something quite strange last night when they went on attack, because we'll talk about that too. Triple DPS with Gunba playing Soldier, that's not going to come out tonight. So we'll talk about that another time, because this is very much more standard. Putting ATAR back on that Genji.
I was about to say, so fresh and so clean for the side of Blank, but indeed back to basics there, going back to that dive that they've been so very good at doing throughout the entire OPC, and now nothing really different from both of these teams. RQT just switching off Sombra at the last second there.
Yep, so they're going to try and take out this room with a big health pack in it. That's not really the greatest thing to try up against a Sombra composition that can just continuously use that health pack. Yes, Blank want to deny it.
Oh, disaster though. Kalman taking out Eat Up very early into this fight. Atar going down to Dizzy as well. And this is now surely when Blank need to retreat. They need to get back and not give away too much ultimate charge here. But indeed, AHQ wipe them out. And look at those ultimates that are building now for the side of AHQ.
The big one, of course, is going to be that EMP. Blank really wanted to win that first fight, so they didn't have to worry about EMP until they got all the way to the second point. Now, the path of attack is interesting for them because they could have just dived straight on top of Dizzy. It's far away from the health packs. It forces AHQ to move away from the defense as well, away from the health packs themselves in terms of protecting Dizzy. But then again, you've also got to ask, HQ are very good at protecting Dizzy. Can we really break that barrier?
They've been doing such a great job at keeping all eyes on the rest of the team and allowing Dizzy to play very freely there. They lose Trill as he's going to have to force himself off the edge. And now Kiki's mech going to be taking out here as well. Kalman, if they can pick this kill up, that's a decent little return trade there for the side of Blank. But again, Dizzy, very uncontested, just managing to dish out oodles and oodles of damage here all over the side of Blank. And it's going to be another reset.
Oh, another reset. I mean, Cowman's going to be running back, but he'll surely be back there just in time. Blank, 2 fights now. They haven't actually managed to make a dent into the point just yet. AHQ, maybe they have worked something out, but remember, Blank, they're trying something different to what they did last night. So whatever AHQ had prepared, it's not exactly what they would have, the comp they'd be predicting against, but look, Blank, now they're coming in with the Dragon Blade, if they can find a pulse bomb. This is big.
There's the nano boost as well. Dizzy taken out, will not be part of this fight as he was getting so close to that tac visor as well. And look at this, Eat Up throwing that pulse bomb onto Eric. But watch out, that counter pulse bomb coming through from Kalman doesn't manage to convert it to any kills. So that's disaster now for AHQ. Players falling left, right, and center here as now Blank surely going to be picking themselves up the first cap. After 2 unsuccessful attempts, they do manage to get it with 1 minute and probably about 18 seconds left on the clock here, Smite.
Well, that's about to change because they're going to have some time added to them so that they can move on to the second point. It's clear that they were just waiting for that Nano Blade combo, and it worked out fantastically for them, especially with no EMP to shut down the mobility that Atar is going to get during that ult. Now, this next push is not likely to be too successful for Blank. They're going to be wanting to build up ults and at the same time bait them out from AHQ. Try and get that EMP gone. Try and get that tactical visor down.
Oh, Eat Up in a good position to finish off some of these kills, but he cannot convert, sadly, for the side of Blank. As I say that, though, Career's going to be going down, but AHQ answering back with swiftness here, converting a lot of their own into these frags, and now very strong defensive position coming out from Dizzy. Will be able to do a lot of chip damage if any of these Blank players show their faces, but will smartly just retreat.
Importantly, though, AHQ used minimal ults during that. EMP was thrown out, but if Karius is quick, he will be able to get it up before the next fight, just being very, very sneaky, trying to get in there, get those health packs, along with his tanks, boosting them up, getting that EMP ready. I mean, look at it, it's charging up so quickly. But the big thing as well, Dizzy with that tactical visor, Blank have to show him attention.
And now Blank will be trying to just contest this high ground, but Lazy Titan doing a great job at holding down the left side elevator here for the side of AHQ. And now Blank stacking up there. If Kalman can find himself a pulse bomb, and amongst that again will be just disastrous for Blank. They drop that sound barrier, find that kill onto Crappy. Now it looks like Kalman really struggling to take out RQT here. Great defensive play coming through from him. But AHQ, they do manage to find themselves a couple of trades which they so desperately need. Kiki just sitting on the point by himself, and now that he's lost Eat Up as well, he needs to force himself, and indeed a reset coming through from the side of Blank. But they do manage to find a little bit of an opening there.
They do force out the tactical visor. That's going to be good for Blank as well, but the problem is they threw out sound barrier as well in reaction to it, so they won't have that to protect Atar. Instead, they're going to have to rely on Transcendence to keep Atar alive during the Dragon Blade. Remember, there's no nano boost anymore, so it's going to take them a little longer to kill people.
Oh, but the EMP coming through early into this fight, and they do not want to Zenyatta, but Gumba so good at converting these aggressive pushes onto him, finding that kill onto Careers. Can the rest of Blank turn this into a victory for them? The Dragon Blade finding Crappy, back. Then Kalman looking to finish Dizzy off here as well. He'll find it. This is Atar going absolutely insane with the Dragon Blade here. Now, the rest of AHQ taken out. Blank getting themselves that 1/3 on the point, and it's ticking quickly. AHQ going to have to throw bodies at the point to really keep this one alive.
They've already swapped Dizzy onto Mei. They're going into full desperation mode. They need to stall out for time. Every single kill here will count because they respawn so closely.
And now Dizzy with that Mei, but there's the Transcendence looking to push Blank ahead. But Mei obviously freezing herself on the point, buying AHQ some time there. They do indeed have that Pulse Bomb. They're finding the kills as well. Out of nowhere, Blank don't even get themselves to 2/3 before AHQ find an answer to their problem.
They did force out the Mei though, which means now Dizzy is either going to have to swap back onto Soldier, lose all the ult charge that he had before on either Mei or Soldier, or it's going to have to stay on that Mei, and that's a pretty dangerous call to make. But you're right, Blank, they didn't get the 2/3. They're still sitting on 1/3 though. That's still a good amount of progress.
So yeah, match just being paused there. We'll be right back into the action as soon as the players are ready to go. But I mean, something very interesting to note there as well is that was obviously a very on-the-fly call made by the side of Blank there, you know. Really weren't, I guess, fully prepared to go in for that offense just then, but the second Gumba finds that early pick, you know, and the EMP's been used, the reaction coming through from Blank there was very, very good. Obviously, Atar hitting the Dragon Blade instantly, getting right in and amongst it was just beautiful to see.
Well, that's the thing, right? With no EMP to worry about, and in fact, no Sombra at all because Keras was the one that actually died. He doesn't have to worry about being hacked for the entirety of his Dragon Blade, and you saw the fruits of that. He just got in there, got, what was it, 3 kills and then 1 to follow it up as well, and that absolutely secured all of that progress for Blank on that point. In fact, they actually had a trade at the start. There was actually 1 kill apiece, and Blank still went in because they knew that Atar would be the one to get the value out of Dragon Blade. They knew no tactical visor to shut him down. EMP is really the only other thing that's going to stop him killing absolutely everyone on the team, so why not go in?
The other thing as well, I suppose, was AHQ were quite out of position. I believe it was Eric or possibly Lazy Titan as well were both pushed up with Kerez to try and convert that kill onto Gumba. And so obviously, even though they did get the trade and they did manage to finish Gumba off, obviously being all the way outside that inside area really lets, I guess, the DPS on the side of Blank go to town. And yeah, going to be interesting to see if the back of obviously what we just saw as well was, you know, was it a miscommunication? Was it a technical issue coming through from AHQ? Or, you know, what's really happened here? Because it looked like, you know, AHQ, that was exactly what they wanted to have happen, but obviously Gumba just being a little bit too, I guess, fast on the trigger there, being able to sort of find that kill onto Kerez.
Yeah, that was the big thing as well, and that's also, I mentioned this very briefly during Lijiang Tower, the difference between playing Sombra into a lot of
great
heroes.
meme. Great meme.
That's a good meme. I love it. But playing Sombra into a Zenyatta rather than an Ana, Discord Orb is something that's always going to be there as soon as you show your face, right? If you can dodge a sleep dart, you're okay on Sombra when you go in for that poke. Because you always stealth in with your translocator ready to get out of a fight. You shoot a bunch of people, get some ult charge, they shoot you, you teleport back, heal up, get even more ult charge. Very, very easy game plan there. But with Discord Orb, a lot more abilities now suddenly become 1 or 2 shot threats. The damage is a lot spikier, which means you can't suddenly hit that panic button, get out of there, heal up a huge amount, get more ult charge, and instead you just die. And that's what we saw happen.
Something interesting as well that you've sort of mentioned coming into this is that, you know, they've forced Dizzy onto that Mei, and so they've already got themselves that 1/3 of the point. If Blank can obviously react very quickly to this, you know, before obviously even the Blizzard gets it, you know, Blizzard in itself is decent at holding down, you know, any sort of defensive point, but it's not the greatest, and it's not Dizzy on Soldier either. So the thing is, if Blank can react quickly, they can get back in there offensively. They might be able to get themselves to 2/3. They might be able to full cap the point here and really punish obviously that desperation that came through from AHQ.
The other issue as well with Blizzard is that it can get entirely eaten by a defensive matrix. And you've got to bet that Kiki is going to be on that point, so this adds another issue for AHQ to deal with before they can throw out most of their ultimates. It's something that's plaguing a lot of heroes at this time, right? You've got to demech the Diva before you can actually use your ultimate effectively. So this is something that Mei can do because, of course, her left click doesn't have to worry about defense matrix. You can just freeze that Diva and then without even worrying about demeching, you can just throw the Blizzard out. So that's an option, but then again, you've got to bet that Kiki's going to be aware of that. He's going to know that is going to be Dizzy's game plan, to freeze him, then throw out the Blizzard, but we'll see if that is actually his
Looks
game
like
plan.
we're getting right underway here. Apologies for the delay, but now Career's going to be sitting on another EMP.
Yeah, well, it's a fast charging ultimate. I wasn't lying. Charges up incredibly quickly. So look, that will be able to shut down Blank's next attempt if it's done well and if AHQ get aggressive enough. We've seen a lot of teams play very aggressively, even so far as out in the courtyard with that EMP, because it's an open area, you can hit everyone with the EMP and you can chase them down.
And so now Blank again going in through that high ground, pushing AHQ off it, but now they've really got to be careful if they group up for this EMP. They manages to get it off just in time, but they'd already lost so much on the side of AHQ there as now Blank players ahead, but Dizzy going to be able to freeze Atar in his tracks, headshot him out of this. And indeed now, AHQ somehow finding an answer with the Mei. It's not even a desperation pick for them at this point, Smite.
It might not be, but they've lost another third. Blank snuck that out in the meantime, and the Blizzard might come out, but it's really just looking to secure the point. AHQ, they got a few kills earlier on, which means really they'd already secured the point. The Blizzard may have been because Dizzy wants to swap anyway, but that's one more third gone over to Blank. The big thing that really kept AHQ in that was EMP came out after the sound barrier and actually denied that ultimate on the majority of the members, or at the very least, the important ones.
And now Blank looking to get right back in the thick of things here. The pulse bomb from Eat Up a lot is going to be riding on this as Atar still looking to build that Dragon Blade up for the side of Blank. Career's trying to get sneaky in behind there. Still doesn't have that EMP to work with, but Atar 10% away now for the Dragon Blade. But they've lost Gumba early into this fight and they've democked Kiki. So now AHQ looking in a great position to really hold this second checkpoint down, Smite.
Blank have got to make like a tree and get the heck out of there because they have to wait for one more fight. They've only got 13 seconds to go. They still have Dragon Blade, and Atar is just respawning now. They're going to have to go in, buy time for him. I mean, RQT, he's
Make like a tree and get out of there.
Back to the future, man.
Still trying not to laugh here, but indeed it is going to be overtime ticking down, and RQT being taken out early as the EMP coming through now for the side of AHQ. Atar doesn't get it on him, but can he get enough kills here? Indeed he can't, as Career's going to be able to take him out. Isn't even scared of the blade, and all that freezing cold Blizzard on the point, just going to stop Trill, just like Blank, taking that second checkpoint, and AHQ do manage to hold, but not before Blank did get themselves about 76%.
Which is a respectable amount. You can absolutely hold that on the second point on Volskaya, but that's what Pixie and Avril were saying last night when it was AHQ defending first. They ended up getting, what, 96%? Blank ended up getting about 96% on the second point, and then they ended up holding for that. So that's a fair amount. So look, AHQ can still absolutely turn this around. They can still come back. 76%, while it's respectable for Blank to get, it's still definitely within the possibilities of AHQ to get, especially when they travel from immediately capping the first point all the way to the second point, using that snowball, and especially if EMP is down.
Well, speaking of especially and special things, we did see AHQ go for that Roadhog offense last night on their first point attack. So it'll be interesting to see if they go for the same thing again, Smite.
Yeah, so remember how I was talking about playing Sombra into Zenyatta, how it's annoying because Discord Orb makes one-shots a bit more of a possibility. Do you know who the king of one-shots is? Maybe not on the live patch anymore, but on the
tournament patch.
On the tournament patch here, which is what the players are playing on, so Roadhog still kills people. He still will one-shot a Sombra for sure. That can shut things down. So it's going to be entirely on, I believe it's RQT that plays the Sombra. Oh no, it's Gumba. Gumba will be playing the Sombra. He has to not get hooked if that is what AHQ bring out.
Well, we'll find out in a moment. Just a few seconds away here from getting into Blank's defense. It looks like it's going to be the classic dive with obviously Gumba on the Sombra. And can he bring it to the boys from AHQ, or will they be able to find that opening behind Lazy Titan's hook?
Well, the Hog is coming out, perhaps for one of the last professional matches that he's going to be able to one-shot people on his own. Getting that hook out onto Sombra is going to secure the point for AHQ because no EMP means no humongous advantage.
Oh, and there is a frisky one just throwing it out, probing the side of Blank. Doesn't connect just yet, but AHQ looking to secure themselves again in this big health pack room that we saw Blank do on their offense. But Blank playing a little bit more patiently here, really trying to bait in AHQ and stack up in that room and then try to take that fight to them. But obviously, AHQ do have that hog in there.
They do have that hog, and it's going to be so important for Blank to play carefully. Look, Deflect coming out just from the threat of the hook right there. And now finally, AHQ are diving on top of the point.
And they've managed to find RQT already into this engagement. And again, look at these Blank players. Gumba's taken out as well, and you said if they get the Sombra, they get the point. They've lost ATAR as well. Only one trade for the side of Blank. Make that 2, but that's surely not going to be enough here as AHQ just blow the first point defense wide open there. And again, Blank just giving AHQ too much space to work with, and now AHQ with an extremely flawless first point attack with 2 minutes 45 left on the clock. Going to be moving into checkpoint number 2 now with 6 minutes 40, Smite.
Big thing about that though is ATAR somehow managed to get his Dragon Blade ready for the second point defense. In fact, he got it before Gumba got his EMP. That's how quickly ATAR built it up, so that's going to be a big thing for them holding on. Lazy Titan will stick on the hog for this next attack. Again, it still brings all the benefits to that Sombra thing I just mentioned before, but it will also build a threat of ATAR during his Dragon Blade. If he gets hooked, that's a huge advantage.
Oh, Gumba sets up a nice EMP though for the side of Blank. There is this Dragon Blade still being held onto by ATAR. Very smart play there, but Dizzy will be able to connect and take him down. Eat Up now needs to finish this fight off for the side of Blank, and very smartly by AHQ, they do retreat, but not before getting their own back onto the side of these Blank players.
And also Keras will be swapping onto that Sombra too, so now it's going to be a battle for the health packs, and the problem is Gumba's already hacked up all the important ones, so it's going to be Keras getting the dregs. It's still a fast charging ultimate. You can still use the health pack outside, and if Gumba's not on top of it, you can still sneak one on the health packs as well. So AHQ, they will come into this next fight with a lot of tools. Dizzy will have Tactical Visor, but look, Blank didn't have to use a lot during that last fight. EMP was really all they used.
But still big ultimate advantage for the side of Blank, obviously, as they come into this next fight, and taking Crappy out very early is great for them, as Lazy Titan, the big fat Roadhog, can't get out alive, as Eat Up will be there to finish him off with great haste. And now Blank just looking to push out these last remaining AHQ players and build up a little bit more charge for whoever needs it. Now sitting on a full deck of cards, Smite.
Full deck of cards. RQT was really the only one that didn't have his ultimate there, but now they do all have their ults. This means that winning fights for Blank, while it's still good, still buys some time. Oh, they're pushing really far forward.
Gumba throwing that EMP out, and could be the make or break for Blank here as they're getting so aggressive out into this courtyard. Sound barrier now coming through from both sides, but the Dragon Blade and the self-destruct coming out on top for the side of Blank. But Eric, though, finding an answer, taking Trill out, turning things back in the way of AHQ. Now Crappy, you've got to watch out for him, a very strong Lucio player here. ATAR caught off from the rest of the boys, and Kalman will be there to finish things off. Great stuff here now for AHQ if they roll off the back of this momentum.
No, the respawns will still come out for Blank though, so AHQ don't really have enough time to go in there and try and use momentum there. Hey there!
And wow, Gumba with a great solo play there, just annihilating Kalman as he tries to keep himself safe in that health pack room.
Okay, so Dizzy, he swapped over onto that Reaper, and well, they actually did this last night as well. I call this a little bit of a playing for a win condition here, because of course they're going to build up to that Death Blossom. They're going to build, well, of course they're going to have EMP because it's up every single fight. They go in with that, and that's enough to win a fight alone. But if it doesn't win, whoa, that was close.
Oh, nicely timed on the shift there, keeping himself alive. And they also don't have Gumba into this fight, who got taken out very early there as the whole hog comes through from Lazy Titan to give themselves that slight edge as Eric manages to find ATAR as well. And this is really going to open things up now for Dizzy. He's going to be able to go to town. There's the EMP from Gumba. They need to convert these into some kills here, but AHQ sustaining themselves through this, and now really looking to take it back to Blank as that sound barrier comes through. And where are these Blank members? With still 3 minutes 20 left on the clock, now AHQ are finding themselves some room to cap the point out here. There's a slight contest coming up from Blank, but it's very, very frantic.
Remember though, every single kill will count here for Blank. They've already killed about 2 or 3 people. Make that another one. So they should be able to hold here, but they need to not drop any more members.
Eat Up was going absolutely huge there at keeping Blank's hopes alive, and now it's just going to be True, and it was, I believe, RQT as well, Kiki doing a great job at sort of contesting that point and not letting AHQ get any breathing room on it at all. Not even now, things are opening up for them there. 44% in an instant for the side of AHQ, and now Blank really starting to sweat. They're throwing out the sound barrier. They need to pick themselves up this fight win here as Dizzy holding that Death Blossom, and ATAR smartly not committing the blade just yet.
Just barely. The skin of their teeth, they hold on, but they do give up 1/3, but smartly still hold on to ultimates, don't give into the pressure, not throwing out Dragon Blade where it's not needed. But now AHQ will be coming into a push with EMP and the Death Blossom. I mean, Karius, he might not have it yet, but you can expect it'll be up for the next fight.
Well, they're going to have to be careful here as Gumba still doesn't have his EMP up. ATAR going to be going in early with the blade, only picks up 1 kill. Does he actually use the Death Blossom there as well and took out Gumba? And ATAR somehow actually picked up the second there. Thought he was going to get taken out as he was only on 20 health, but still, Blank managing with out of some way, somehow, are really starting to edge through in these fights here when it looks like everything is coming up for the way of AHQ. Blank always have that answer. Eat Up is just such a thorn in the side of AHQ right now.
And sadly for AHQ as well, they got the point to 60%, which means they don't quite get that second third, and sadly the bar just trickles back to 33%. It would have been fantastic for them if they'd got that second mark, but instead, Blank managed to hold them off. They've only got EMP to work with now on the defense though, but AHQ, remember, they threw a lot at that last fight. Death Blossom was in there. The Tracers, they have to go huge with these pulse bombs.
Gumba looking to set up for another EMP. Great positioning here. The sound barrier for the side of Blank as well to really keep them healthy through this engagement. And Blank just wiping up these 4 AHQ players as they just get a little bit too aggressive into the inside area. And Blank still looking to stabilize here. A minute left for AHQ. Panic mode now engaged, but they've got some ultimates building up, Smite.
And that EMP was actually huge because of that reason, right? It allowed Blank to build up their ults, specifically ATAR, who did so much damage during that fight. In this next one, it's very likely if he survives just a few seconds, he'll be able to use that Dragon Blade in the middle of the next fight, which may be just enough for Blank to hold on and maybe even not give away the next third.
But if Karez can set up a big EMP for the side of AHQ, that's going to be exactly what the Doctor ordered for them here in this fight. And Karez now throws it out. They've got the sound barrier to work with as well on the side of AHQ. They do have that player advantage. Can Kalman's Pulse Bomb connect? It cannot. And now ATAR going to be forced out of this fight with his Dragon Blade as the rest of his team are getting absolutely annihilated here. And somehow they managed to pick that kill up onto Dizzy. So that's going to be great now for the momentum for Blank to get themselves back into this fight. But AHQ slowly edging ahead here, all on Trill's Primal Rage, Smite.
Killing Dizzy was huge because Trill, Primal Rage, it's not going to be killed by that Reaper anymore. And now look at that. Because of this, Blank have held on. They've got it through the overtime, and they take out Volskaya Industries.
And unbelievable there when it looked like AHQ was slowly edging ahead, slowly coming out on top of these engagements. Blank in just spectacular fashion, somehow holding onto that. And I mean, the star of the show, you've really got to give it to Eat Up. When it looked like ATAR wasn't coming up with enough there, at least in my opinion, Eat Up, perfect on the back lines there, really doing enough damage to stop AHQ being healthy in these engagements. And I mean, Trill and Kiki together, amazing sort of stagger coming through. And I mean, Gumba as well, what an absolute machine.
You're just going to praise the whole team.
That was just so good from everybody there. I mean, AHQ indeed as well was so very, very good. Obviously, an amazing first point attack coming through from them, and Kalman as well. But when it came down to crunch time and Kalman really needed to come up big, just wasn't enough there. And it was the same as well with Karez. As well as they played that sort of series there, that EMP was just a little bit too late in that last engagement, which sort of kept that fight going for a little bit too long, rather than them sort of getting that clean wipe, instant cap.
It's also the difference in the compositions when they're attacking the second point, right? Because clearly HQ, they bring out the Reaper instead of what Blank brought out, which was just very traditional dive. And the Reaper plays a little bit differently because, of course, you've also got Sombra. So there's also the win condition of just EMP into Death Blossom, shut down the Matrix so that you just get free damage. But also, if you are winning the fight, then Reaper isn't affected as much when he's hacked, right? If an EMP comes out from the defending team, it shuts down Wraith Form, which is an okay situation if your team is already winning the fight, right? If your Reaper isn't really under consistent threat, then you don't really need Wraith Form and you still do a ridiculous amount of damage. But if you're losing the fight...
Yeah. I feel like Dizzy's Reaper, I mean, as good of a player as he is, it just fell a little bit too short You know, we saw the Death Blossom come out a couple of times, didn't really pick up enough kills with that one.
Killed one person with Death Blossom. That's
and,
it.
I mean, he gets taken out as well after that. You know, he does a decent amount of chip damage. And the thing is that he's really there to deal with, obviously, you know, Trill. He's there to deal with Kiki's mech. But he can't really find the openings enough because the thing is you know, Atar, obviously, is so good at playing that vertical sort of Genji. But the thing as well, Gumba in this Volskaya was absolutely insane on that Sombra, doing a great job at obviously finding the early intel for the rest of the Blank side, set up some amazing EMPs, I feel, which really let Blank, you know, take the fights when they wanted to.
Yeah, it's also on Gumba's Sombra. Actually, we'll look at the replay first before we get into that, or maybe we will see Gumba and Sombra in a few of these anyway, but this is going to be Blank's first attack, right? And it did take them a little bit of time to finally get the point. There was a nano boost for Eric there, just to secure the point for them anyway, but like, as you can see, Blank just weren't able to get through it at that point. It ended up taking them, I believe it was a third push, where they actually managed to take the points, and it was entirely off the back of that nano-bladed Genji. Maybe we'll catch that replay a bit later, but it did take them a few fights. They had less time, but they still managed to get more progress on that second point.
And it's just, I guess, a very interesting sort of thing to note there that, you know, Blank, when it comes to a lot of these first engagements, all looking all the way back to Control, they somehow drop these first engagements and then come out and win the map.
Yeah, of course. And that comes down to your long-term decision making, right? Where you're trying to make these trades off. You recognize, okay, look, what is the enemy team going to do to try and win this first point? And we'll actually see it in this replay here is what AHQ were trying to do. This is, I think it's the same replay. I'm not too sure, but a lot of these fights, no, this is the one where Blank win, right? The nano-bladed Genji, he just dives in, doesn't quite find a lot right at the start, but
I mean, they take Dizzy out off the high ground, and that's the main thing I feel for them in that fight there. You know, the pulse bomb follow-up onto Eric, you know, always good, but taking Dizzy out in these engagements, because he was the real bane for the side of Blank, I feel, on the defense, especially on this first point.
yeah, I mean, when you hear Genji screaming incredibly loudly in Japanese, you know, firstly, it's not the Genji on your team. And also, secondly, you know, if you're a soldier, you've got to run and hide. And you actually saw, you're right, Dizzy had to jump off the high ground there. We'll take a look at Blank's attack here. Sorry, AHQ's attack on the first point, and the threat of the Roadhog is actually really huge here. Gumba can't freely go in and just get poke damage, like I was saying, heal up, get that EMP incredibly quickly, but then it also provides a huge amount of threat on the point itself, a big wide open area where you can see Atar, he was actually just then deflecting across the middle of it. The threat of the hook is just too much. If you lose Atar, suddenly you're gone. And even though, look, they just get all slaughtered here in that little room here, you get a Roadhog up in there, and those are the easiest shots you're going to get with that shotgun.
But at the same, and this is the sort of counterpoint to that, is obviously, you know, Blank were obviously trying to take their time into their engagement and build their ultimates up. You know, it really allowed them to set the tone coming into that point 2 defense. But I mean, you know, within the game, when I was sort of, you know, spectating it just then, I was thinking they needed to take that fight just that little bit sooner. You know, they allowed AHQ a little bit too much room, but you could see what they were going for there, obviously trying to build those ultimates up just a little bit quicker than obviously AHQ were, and then take the fight in. But obviously losing RQT early into that fight was not what they were looking for.
No, it's usually quite a disaster from that point onwards. But the big thing as well was that Atar also got his Dragon Blade up during that fight. It's not often at all you see anyone get their ultimate before a Sombra in a professional match. And Atar managed to do just that, getting a lot of damage. And when Roadhog's not hooking, he actually is a bit of a walking ult charger, right? You can freely get your hits on his humongous hitbox, a huge amount of hit points, and also his head hitbox is also bigger in this patch as well.
Well, taking it back to the replays once more, I believe this is AHQ on that offense there, and this is when you just see, I guess, the perfect sort of situation for AHQ to really stop this in its tracks.
Yeah, and this is after they've already got the first third, and they get quite a lot of kills here, but when Blank come back in and re-engage, I believe this is where they take out Dizzy. Yeah, see, Dizzy is taken out, and this just lets Trill go absolutely wild here. No one to break his barrier, no one to take out the huge Winston, and then as soon as he's ready, Primal Rage to come out and literally push everyone off the point. Yeah,
I wish we saw, I guess, the first half of that fight there, because that's where, you know, Blank do have a decent sort of first start into that. And then that re-engagement from AHQ was very, very smart, very, very swift, obviously, towards the final moments of the match. But really looking at the entirety, I guess, of Volskaya Industries, you know, Assault generally being one of Blank's weaker sort of map choices. You know, they've obviously come a long way since the start of the OPC. And, you know, and I'd say that was extremely close. I can't say that it was convincing for Blank, you know, that they didn't really impress me too much on Volskaya, but somehow they do come away with the win there.
Oh, it takes a lot to impress you, Dallas.
Well, I mean, let's be honest here, mate. You know, they didn't really bring the pain. They didn't full cap it out.
Okay.
They really did an amazing first point attack, didn't they?
I do understand where you're coming from, though. This series is not one-sided at all, right? I mean, the Blank that we saw in the very first round of the entire Pacific Championship, that's what a lot of viewers, a lot of analysts were actually expecting Blank to do the whole way through, and other teams have risen up to the challenge. So yeah, AHQ are doing a fantastic job at keeping Blank at bay, considering what a lot of people were expecting coming into this. But AHQ right now should be starting to pull ahead, right? I mean, they've got their sister, the other Taiwanese team, Flash Wolves, to practice against. They've got a lot of infrastructure behind them, and right now, Blank are still walking over them right now. It's actually match point right now, 3-0. 3-0, and this is a completely different story to what we saw last night.
So yes, just a quick update on obviously the format on which we're going through. This is 3 best of 7s last night. Blank picking up the first best of 7 there, 4-2, and now tonight on day number 2, they are leading 3-0. They're actually on a 7-map win streak, obviously getting 4 maps in a row last night. Now not dropping a single map at all. And the big thing coming into this next map, which will be Escort, which Blank have been very, very good on historically.
Not just historically either. They have never lost Escort against AHQ. You saw it on the stats before the very series began. 3-0 for Escort against AHQ before playoffs even began. They won Gibraltar last night, and that was quite an interesting map as well, and I really do hope Blank pick it again because that was quite fun to watch. But they are 4-0 up against AHQ on Escort, so I've got to say, this is, if you're an AHQ fan right now, if you're sitting in that crowd cheering for the Taiwanese team, you've got to be shaking in your boots a little bit.
Well, let's get the Twitch chat fired up. Obviously, if you're a Blank fan, we're going to go to a quick break, and when we return, map number 4, Blank Esports taking on AHQ right here on Full Circle. We'll see you after the break. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship English broadcast. I'm Dallas Easy Fighter. Joining me as per usual, it's Matt Smite Ross, and we are indeed in day 2 of the playoffs. AHQ taking on Blank Esports. Blank Esports picking up the first best of 7 series 4-2, and now on the second meter, Blank currently leading 3-0 Smite. So now getting into map number 4, it will indeed be Escort. Obviously, Blank have been very, very strong on this, matching up against AHQ. We saw the stats prior to the series beginning, where Blank have never ever lost to AHQ on Escort. So it's going to be a very interesting matchup as Blank, who are playing as the away team, do get to pick it, and they're going to be taking us to Route 66 out of all maps.
It's one of my favorite maps as well. We never get to see it. This is also, it's actually statistically the least played map in the OPC so far. Some of that does come from the fact that during the regular season, only map 4 was Escort, and there were a lot of 3-0s. So we didn't see a lot of Escort, and the least played Escort map was Route 66, but this is going to be Route 66, number 6 of the OPC.
Number 6?
That's right.
That's right. They've only played it 6 times. I like that.
This is, yeah.
Don't say those 3 numbers together though, because then you're bringing up bad luck.
No, not at all. Because anyway, Route 66. This is dive comp city, I've got to say, on attack, right? You want to dive the defending team at every possible opportunity. I would not be surprised if we actually saw AHQ bring a bit of Sombra into this. It's a bit.
Well, I mean, they're big fans of Sombra so far.
Big fans of Sombra, right? But there's a lot of open space, at least on the first 2 checkpoints, where you can catch a lot of members with the EMP. But we'll talk about that if it happens. But Blank have shown that not only are they very comfortable on dive compositions as a whole, they are also much heavily preferring putting ATAR onto Genji now rather than that soldier. So when they're on the attack, they're going to have the ideal dive composition for getting onto Dizzy, taking him out of the fight, or at the very least, just pushing him off that high ground, getting him away from their own team, getting him out of line of sight. And they've done that the first 3 maps so far. ATAR has gone incredibly big with all of his Dragon Blades. So look, I'd say this is great for Blank.
Well, for AHQ, obviously back against the wall. All the pressure, all the eyes are now on them to see if they can answer back here on Route 66. And obviously, as you've mentioned, saying this favors the dive comp very heavily. Blank, historically, very strong at playing dive comp. They've shown it tonight that their dive is somewhat ahead of AHQ's. AHQ have mentioned in their interviews they're not particularly so confident when playing dive. You see Dizzy count time and time again going back to Soldier. So when it comes to, I feel, the defense from AHQ, they're going to be very solid, very consistent. But when it comes to the offense, they will be able to find openings, I feel, but it still won't be as swift as obviously the Genji Tracer play that comes out from Blank is very unrivaled in this entire tournament.
The thing is, it's a little awkward for AHQ to swap onto a composition that runs Genji, right? Because that means you're throwing Cowman onto Genji, which is not bad by any means, but then Dizzy is the player that jumps on the Tracer, and while again, he's not a terrible Tracer by any means, he'll be matched up against IE Up, who is one of the better Tracer players in the tournament, if not one of the best. We'll see maybe next weekend when Bacon Jack comes into play, but I don't believe Dizzy can match up to IE Up at all on Tracer. So it's going to be AHQ still locked in to that Soldier composition, even on attack, and there's a lot of awkward spots for Soldier to try and position himself on the attack, right? It's very easily diveable, there's not a lot of line of sight, there's not even a huge amount of cover, so Dizzy he's gonna have a rough time.
Well, map number 4, Blank taking on AHQ. Obviously, Blank leading the series 3-0 in what could be AHQ's last match in the OPC, unless they can pull a rabbit out of a hat or a payload into a checkpoint.
Or a payload into a checkpoint. Or at least stop a payload into a checkpoint. Well, you can do either.
We'll see. I'm pretty sure Blank are going to go with the defense first, though, but I could be wrong. It's a pretty common occurrence here.
It's usually favored to pick the defense first, because then you have all the information when you go into your round of attack, right? You know exactly how far you have to push the payload. So you know if you could just go for a bit of a cheesy comp to try and push it forward an inch, or if you have to play a lot more normal and try and get it all the way. But we'll see who it ends up being. That's a great rock.
I love that rock. Real handsome rock. Gonna take that rock out on a date. But it looks like Blank are gonna be going with the offense. So somehow your sixth sense pays off yet again, and you're gonna love to see it if you think Eat Up's gonna be playing Widow, but it looks like they're going to the classic Smite.
The classic. ATAR back onto Genji. You've got to say, Blank have really gone full circle here as they've brought him back out. Now, this is a really early defense coming out from AHQ, trying to jump in. It's risky, and in fact, Dizzy is almost punished really hard there, but they do pick up a kill onto ATAR. But the big thing is, it doesn't actually buy much but time.
That's going to be great for AHQ to buy them a little bit of space here into this next fight, as Dizzy's able to find Gumba up in the back lines there, and now Eat Up looking to provide that pressure that Blank so desperately need on top of Dizzy. And if they manage to get that early kill onto him as Trill dove onto him with the Discord Orb, that would have been what Blank were looking for in that early engagement, and now it's going to be AHQ stabilizing off the back of that first kill onto ATAR. Now looking quite confident here on this first corner. Blank going to need to find again that opening, most likely onto Dizzy or one of these support players, to really get things popping.
Now moving the payload slightly, but AHQ are still just winning fights before a lot of teams even start to take fights. By the way, Keras, yes, he is running that Sombra, and here's these big open spaces that I talked about.
EMP out? No, he's not going to chuck it out just yet, and that's going to be a mistake, I feel, as now Eat Up is managing to find Kalman. And if they obviously used it there, they could have won that fight very cleanly. Now Blank have a small opening to get into this.
They've got to go in while they've got that 6v5, but AHQ can buy time with the large amount of ultimates they've got. Eat Up gets a pulse bomb, but is it going to be enough?
Oh,
No.
He forces out the Primal Rage, so again, decent for the side of Blank, but if they commit into the Primal Rage, we'll see what Eric can come up with there, but they're going to be getting a decent amount of movement on this cart as they're going to force out this EMP as well. Is anyone here to follow up onto ATAR? There's a pulse bomb thrown out willy-nilly, but it connects right onto Gumba. They do get that trade back in the form of Eric, but now Kalman yet again just going going to work, taking out Eat Up. So this is again very good for AHQ, managing to stabilize here on Route 66, but now Trill has already used his Primal Rage, managing to finish off Crappy off the back of the ultimate, and now this is when Blank should surely be able to get some decent movement on the cart.
I think you've said that about 3 times and they've only moved it a few inches, but look, yes, you're right, Blank should be able to find some
It's moving,
distance.
it's moving,
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
moving,
Yeah.
it's moving.
The difference is AHQ are pretty far back this time. They don't have an EMP to come back in with. In fact, Keres was actually dead for that. They do have an opportunity to come in for a last-second fight, and it looks like that's exactly what they're going to do, but they'll be walking into the blender because Atar's got the blade.
But there is indeed a tactical visor, but it's not going to be used in this fight as Atar just slices Dizzy in half back to the spawn room, and now Blank just looking to roll through with this momentum here. There's a last-ditch effort coming through from AHQ, which you must commend, obviously buying them just a few more seconds, but smartly from Blank, they don't commit anything else into this fight. They're going to clean it up and grab themselves that first checkpoint.
The only good thing about that fight for AHQ was that Dizzy died so quickly he didn't even use his tactical visor. So they will have that up for the next fight, but Blank have pushed incredibly far forward. Hello, Winston, you're going to be off the high ground now. And look at how far they're going into the 3rd checkpoint even to push them even further back. If they can get the payload after this first bridge, that's the first critical point of defense on this 2nd point here. AHQ don't want to let that happen. They need to go in early.
Well, Kerez being a very slithery snake there, baiting out a few sleep darts and biotic grenades there from Gumba, nothing connecting onto him. Oh, Gumba gonna have to be careful there, almost getting taken out, but Blank answer back again, take Dizzy out very early into this fight. Still no tactical visor being able to be used for the side of AHQ, and look at this, as AHQ were looking to set up for this engagement. Obviously the EMP was up for Kerez, the rest of their team get absolutely annihilated off the back of the kill onto Dizzy.
So Atar will very likely get his ult up, but only during the fight. He needs to be able to both dodge the EMP so that he can use his ult when he gets it, but also still do enough damage to build up the blade, because he's going to need to use that to go onto Dizzy once more, deny that tactical visor that, by the way, he's been holding on to for so long.
Well, 5 ultimates there in the bank
Oh
for
boy.
AHQ. That pulse bomb doesn't connect, so not what Eat Up was looking for, but it will be enough as he picks Crappy up off the back of it. RQT gets taken down for AHQ. Now the tactical visor is in full effect. He manages to pick up Gumba. Can he escape Trill's lightning? Not today, as now Blank answering back with the Dragon Blade, the self-destruct, and the kills across the board here, as now AHQ looking frantic to hold on to this defense. Now Trill is going to be back into the fray, really able to assist now the rest of this Blank team, as AHQ are just frantic onto the payload. Crappy taken out of this one as well, and I'm going to say it again, Smite, they should be able to make some decent movement on the payload here, but AHQ will go in for a last ditch effort.
And that's exactly what happened. You say it's going to move, but the payload stops. But AHQ, you're right. They need to go in. They don't even have the EMP just yet. Blank is still getting kills. They're killing mechs as well. And the EMP comes out as well, but it's just not enough at this point.
There's a mech aside and an AHQ aside right here, as the players are just getting taken out as they try to throw bodies onto the point to buy themselves some more time. Blank now, 2 minutes 50 left on the clock for them to push it all the way to the end, and we've seen obviously how hard it is to get this 3rd checkpoint. It'll be even harder when you get taken out by Kalman, who's just made a pretty decent play there with the Genji v Genji.
Decent play. It just builds him up a little bit of ult. It doesn't buy a huge amount of time for them, only about 12 seconds, but it does give them the room for Keres to get in and just hack up all of the health packs. He is building up to another EMP as well. Wants to hack one more health pack before he does go in, but this should shut down another offense from Blank.
Well, they take Eat Up out without even using anything just yet. It will be interesting to see if Kerez is going to go for the EMP. He's setting it up and he drops the hammer there. Nice sleep dart to stop him in his tracks. Blank answering back, finding that kill onto Kalman, but obviously Blank in the disadvantage here. Now AHQ rolling with that momentum very, very well, picking up the mech on top. They're going to be using the sound barrier. They need to win this fight here as they've committed so much, but now Blank going to be answering back here. Sound barrier of their own. Pulse bomb on Eat Up, so pay attention for that one, as Atar building very, very close to the Dragon Blade. Does he still no pulse bomb just yet? It's all going to come down to this next sort of engagement here. Who's going to come out on top? There's the Nano Blade onto Atar, right on top of Crappy's head. Sends him back. What else can he find with it though? Can it be enough here, as we're currently 4v4? Things are looking very even here, as Blank have thrown all they've got into this fight, but AHQ are slowly coming out on top, Smite.
But that's the point, right? They've thrown all they've got into this fight, and importantly, they don't even get the fight win there. The payload didn't move a single inch during that fight, and then AHQ, with the better respawns, do manage to come back in. Both teams now, the gas tanks are empty. All those ults have run out.
And with 1 minute 10 left on the clock here, AHQ obviously in that defensive advantage position. Going to be very hard for Blank. They're going to need to go for a quick fight now, I feel, to build up some ultimates. But we've seen them win these fights before without any ultimates, pure just fragging capability. But now AHQ looking very hot, obviously, off that last defense. But somehow Blank have grabbed themselves a 2-player advantage already. Karez in the back line with Lazy Titan wiping things out. But can Atar and Eat-Up do it quicker? Obviously, Eat-Up getting very close to that pulse bomb. Karez throwing that hack out, going to be stopping things right there for the side of Blank. And now AHQ again in the lead. They find Dizzy, but is it enough? It looks like not here.
AHQ have bought so much time at this first corner, it's ridiculous. Blank still have to win a fight here and then have enough left in the tank to try and push it all the way to the end after the respawns will come out for AHQ, who, by the way, still have an EMP. They have a pulse bomb ready to go, so that can take someone out of the fight straight away. RQT has to wait for the EMP to throw out a sound barrier.
Wow, nice probe there from Karez, but Eat-Up actually finds that kill onto Crappy. Did throw out the pulse bomb in that engagement here as well. Now Karez is going to need to get the biggest EMP of his life to thwart this attack coming through from Blank. He's pressured into throwing it out, and he gets taken out as well. And now this is great for Blank here. Player advantage on their side. The Primal Rage from Trill. Now the sound barrier. Atar holding that Dragon Blade. That's going to be the icing on the cake here for Blank. And Atar dropping it right now. Can't find Crappy, but the self-destruct will as they find Dizzy on top of things here. There's the Transcendence from Gumba. Maybe a little bit too much too soon here, as they should probably wait for it for the next fight. But now they're making moves on the payload. One fight left, but Kalman with the blade.
Kalman's got to go huge here, get everyone with the blade.
Oh, he finds Gumba. He finds Eat-Up as well, Kalman. He finally gets taken down there, but that might be enough for AHQ to just throw bodies back on the point. They need to find another kill, and they need to find it fast. They lose Crappy already, but Karez and Dizzy, Eric's there as well, just cleaning up these Blank players. There's a pulse bomb as well for Dizzy, and surely there's nothing Blank can do here. Overtime ticks down, but Blank get themselves 63 meters on the payload there.
Losing a lot of potential progress at that third checkpoint there. That first corner, they were cut so short. And let's also not forget, cast your minds back to the very beginning of Route 66, where Blank were held up before even the first corner had been turned on the payload. So that's even more time they could have had on that third checkpoint.
And I mean, you've really got to give credit to AHQ and their ability to pick off Atar 2 times in a row and really stop that Blank offense in its tracks. You know, and again, if we really want to look back and use, you know, the strength of the hindsight there was that moment when Blank could have taken out Dizzy in that first engagement there. Trill obviously doesn't opt for a full-on dive to chase him down. Probably would have died himself in that situation. But I mean, if one more player just threw one tiny little bit of damage onto Dizzy there, things could have gone obviously completely different for the side of Blank. But AHQ with a very, I guess, strong defense across the board. Point 2 was a bit of a walkthrough for Blank, but when it came to point 1 and point number 3, they did have enough to stop Blank from getting it all the way.
Here's where we're talking about the real test, though, for AHQ. It's their attack. We know they can play that entrenched defense, keep Dizzy safe on that soldier, throw a Sombra into the mix. We know that AHQ are a team capable of doing that. How well can they use that composition onto attack? Look, I'm not going to be surprised if they even run Sombra on the attack here. We've been shown that AHQ really favor this hero. It may even be how they're adapting to a different style of dive, where they just get up in the face with the Sombra, throw out the EMP, and then even with sprints, that's enough for Soldier 76 to chase people down, shoot them down, because there's no defense matrix for them to stay alive.
Oh, it looks like Kalman's going to be sitting on that Tracer, so it looks like we will not be seeing Dizzy bring out his Tracer, because Kalman's Genji was quite good, I must say, in that previous defense, but looks like it's going to be the Dizzy Soldier and the Titan on the Widow.
No,
he's going to change. Lol.
He's going to go back onto the D.Va. So this is a lot more standard coming up from AHQ. They don't run the Sombra, and that's also pretty expected as well. So Blank will be running basically the same composition that AHQ were running, except Atar is going to be on their Genji this time. So look, they're going to be looking for pretty much the same fights, but they're not getting that early fight at that corner, playing a little bit more conservatively here for Blank.
Yeah, a little bit more passive play coming through from Blank, looking to bite onto AHQ as they get around the first corner, but they're already losing Trill into this first engagement here, and now Gumba does have that EMP up, but they've lost ATAR as well. And I mean, this is just the story of the entire series here. Now Blank losing that first engagement, they do get a return kill here. They're going to be throwing that EMP out and actually answering back, and that might be a mistake from Blank, as now they're losing players all over the show here. Eat Up trying to do enough by himself. Surely he can't. And AHQ just wipe out Blank and are now just walking effortlessly through this first point.
They took the fight early enough that they will get a second chance, but only at the very end of this first checkpoint here. So they do need to go in, but they don't have a lot to go with. Remember, they used the EMP during that last fight. They'll be walking into a pulse bomb by Cowman, so this line of attack is basically cut off. They don't have a lot to work with, while AHQ, they're even going to have a nano boost here.
Pulse bomb here. Cowman so low. Eat Up comes out on top of the Tracer v Tracer battle. A lot of pressure being put onto Dizzy here. He does have that tactical visor, but Kiki's going to have to be careful here as he tries to retreat out. No defense matrix left, and that Discord orb's right on him.
Payload's moving.
Nicely placed self-destruct there from Lazy Titan, I believe, and now the nano boost right onto Dizzy. Now this is when Blank need to start sweating, but they do use the sound barrier just in the nick of time to keep themselves alive, but no one there to help Trill as he gets taken down up on the high ground, and now with Dizzy just up there by himself, all on his lonesome, is just able to go to work and just clean up these last few Blank members, and AHQ get the first cap in a much quicker time than Blank.
Yeah, much quicker time as well.
So fast, we're gonna be buffering.
we're gonna catch up to it, right? But Blank, to their credit, did build up a lot of the ults of their own. Remember, when AHQ were in this position, they didn't have a lot to go with. The best thing they had was Dizzy and his tactical visor, and that was consistently hunted down by ATAR on the Genji. So instead, it's now Blank with a full roster of you've got Dragon Blade, you've got Pulse Bomb, and I think even Trill is close to his ult. But look, it's we'll just catch up to it.
That's probably going to be the replay of the game there anyway, but Dizzy, a great tactical visor coming through. Now AHQ looking to get aggressive onto cap number 2. Kalman, again, this is his biggest strength here. You know, you see Tracer players doing this time and time again, setting up in this very forward position, and this is a great piece of bait now from Dizzy. You've got to remember Eric and Kalman right below him here, so if anyone tried to dive onto Dizzy, he had teammates ready and waiting to help him there. And look at that, there it is. Now Trill might come out on top of this dive here if he has any support. Nicely placed Bardic Field, going to allow Dizzy to get himself ahead, but no, and Trill Primal Rages on him, and there comes the EMP from Gumba. This Dragon Blade needs to come up big, but ATAR can't find the kills, and now AHQ coming out on top. So much momentum as well from the first cap, just gonna look to walk through the street space.
And that's where Blank were meant to bring it back. They had all the ultimates in the bank. That should have been a team fight win for them. They've swapped off the Sombra. Now it's clearly not working out for them. So now they don't have a huge amount of gas left in the tank. They will get once more a second fight during this checkpoint. AHQ did have to use a few things to deal with it, but they are now coming up to tactical visor. Nano boost is not too far away either, so Blank, once more, they're walking into a dangerous situation.
Yeah, Blank need to change something up. Who is their priority target? Maybe a hero swap right now, as AHQ again just wiping them out here. Obviously cap number 3 is where Blank are really going to be pressured on, because it looks like at this point AHQ are taking Route 66 home.
And let's consider, now that AHQ are about to hit that third checkpoint, they are going to have a ridiculous amount of time compared to what Blank had, just over 4 minutes. And they're also walking in with 5 ultimates. Cowman should surely be able to get his one up very, very quickly as well. And remember how much time Blank spent on that first corner. If AHQ get it past after the first fight, then Blank are suddenly thrown into desperation, respawn as quickly as you can mode.
Well, we've seen ATAR now just make a change up to the Soldier. Kalman looking to loop back around onto Eat Up. Eat Up in a spot of bother here. Has to be careful not to get taken out early into this fight, as this is almost must win now for Blank. If they do drop this fight, as you mentioned, Smite, it's going to be disastrous for them to get back on their feet here. The sound barrier coming through from Blank. They're putting everything into this one. Lazy Titan did drop the self-destruct. Doesn't connect with anything, but they still find that kill onto RQT. Now the nano visor from Dizzy looking to really dish into that sound barrier on the side of Blank, and you can see it right there for yourselves. AHQ flawlessly just wiping Blank out, and now looking to get aggressive, push these Blank players back, keep them in spawn, and take Route 66 back for yourselves.
One more fight for Blank, and it's not even going to be a fully fledged one. AHQ are entrenched on this payload. They've got a sneaky pulse bomb waiting for Blank to walk in.
Calvin, though, looking to be taken out from Eat Up, but does manage to recall himself out of this fight. The Transcendence being committed from Gumba as well here. Now, finally, Blank have answered back. They've found Crappy and Eric here, and Eat Up still holding onto the pulse bomb. Oh, the sleep dart, though, he's going to have to be careful here. AHQ could jump right on his head. Nice Helix rocket there. Atar on the flank, takes out Kalman. Blank with a small amount of breathing room, but look how close that payload is, Smite.
All right, Blank fans, you can wipe the sweat off your brow right now. They're not out of this one just yet, indeed. And in fact, they've even got good ultimates to try and hold this point. Atar, after that swap, he's now got his tactical visor ready to go. It won't have a nano boost just yet, but it's not too far away if they can hold out, delay this next fight, and use that powerful combo.
Good pressure there coming through from AHQ. Stopping Atar from being safe and sound up on that high ground, now forced into a different position. Eat Up getting very aggressive there, almost falls, but Kalman will come out on top of the first poking engagements there, taking down RQT, but Atar's Helix rocket too strong, and he will find Kalman, and now AHQ just looking to probe and build some more ultimates.
Easy, we've still got to see Blank go through this for another 2 minutes. They've still got to hold for a long time. You can hear the music is at that almost at the end stage right now, and Blank, they've still held on to all of their own ultimates as well. They've actually swapped
Transcendence
RPT.
from AHQ looking to start things off with a bang, but they don't convert that Transcendence into any kills. Nano boost onto Eric, does a decent job at zoning back Blank behind the payload. They're going to have to look to get in on this ASAP as the self-destruct coming through will find a kill there onto Eric, but Dizzy with the tac visor now has a very strong flanking position here onto the side of Blank. They have to be careful. Gumba with the Transcendence, it doesn't last forever, mate, as Blank frantically now trying to find some kills onto this payload, but Dizzy's Helix rocket going to be finding Atar. It looks like he might be able to escape. He can't, as Kiki will hunt him down. That's an absolutely massive return kill there coming through from Blank, as they will once again be able to stabilize this defense with Trill just primal raging in these enclosed rooms. 50 seconds left on the clock, and this is getting extremely tight, Smite.
And that, once more, was a fight that AHQ were meant to win. They threw everything they had at it. Blank, they did the same thing though. So now both teams are just going to come down to an ultless fight. The Tracers will have the pulse bombs. But look, we are coming up close to RQT's sound barrier. AHQ will have Transcendence. Both of these teams are going in with their defensive immortality ults, as I like to call them, and they are going to go in for the
the
longest
pulse
fight
bomb
of our
thrown
life.
out willy-nilly yet again from Kalman, and that might be disaster for AHQ as he doesn't manage to convert that into a kill. As I say that though, a great dive coming through from Eric, going to be able to take out Atar. They find Kiki's mech as well. They don't manage to get the sound barrier up on RQT, and now disaster for Blank and fans alike here as we are watching the defeat coming through. I feel unless someone, some way, a miracle can happen for Blank, they can't do it, and AHQ will keep their series hopes alive by picking up Route 66. And what a surprise Blank must be feeling right now.
What a surprise indeed, because that's, again, the first escort map that Blank have ever lost against AHQ. And you can actually see Coach Nitor from AHQ just giving the whole team high fives because they deserve it. They've just lost 3 maps in a row, but still have the tenacity to come back in onto Route 66. Blank's pick on a map type they've never beaten the team against and still pull out a victory.
And so that's really the tale of what this is here as well. You know, Blank looking to close the series out, looking good with a 3-0 lead into the series, picking Route 66, obviously feeling very confident about it, and then AHQ come through with an extremely, what I'm going to say, stronger performance than Blank there.
Well, they won.
Well, they won, but I mean, like, you can see it wasn't as close as some of these other maps.
That's what I'm just about to bring up though, right? Is that when it's actually Blank on match point, the most one-sided map we've seen all series on Route 66 here, AHQ are the team to actually win. And this is keeping them in the series only just because, of course, they still have to win another 3 maps in a row to keep the series alive for them. Because remember, even if they win this best of 7 tonight, they then have to go into another best of 7 against Blank tomorrow. And that's when Blank will have the home side advantage as well. So this is a grueling task for AHQ right now. There are so many matches ahead of them for them to stay in the series.
There is indeed, but obviously at any point, this is the big thing, is that there's that looming threat over their head that if Blank pick up one map, they're obviously done with the series, done with everything,
Done with
and
season
then
1 of
on
the ABC.
to the finals. So that's the big thing that obviously AHQ have to be aware of, and that's such a hard thing to deal with. I feel when you're literally saying we can't lose at all, and you've got to now win another 3 maps in a row.
But look, Easy, they did it just then. Route 66, match point for Blank. They did it with their backs against the wall, and they did it with a stunning performance as well. They came out and looked like a completely different team. They just put Blank in their place. And so even though it's still a long road ahead of them, they've shown they can do it on this map, which is the 4th map in a long series as well, right? We've still potentially got another 3 to go. And we're talking about, oh, wow, AHQ might have a long path to go. They might, suffer from a bit of fatigue as well. Blank is still playing the exact same games as well. So there may even be a little bit of tiredness coming in, a little bit of fatigue. But
well, taking us back to Route 66, the replays in full force here. Blank very aggressive, and I feel this is sort of what I mentioned. That aggression is what cost them Route 66.
Yeah, of course. I mean, this is where they just try and take these early fights, getting in as soon as they can. And I mean, look, it doesn't always work out for them, but look, here is exactly where it did. They held onto the payload. This is where AHQ were trying to force out one of those early fights. Quite common to do, right? So you get additional fights there, and you get an extra chance on that payload. So look, it's the right call to make, but Blank, they held on.
So the 2 things that I really sort of noticed there, or before that, we'll have a look at the point 3 defense coming through from AHQ, and this is where Blank essentially, I mean, there was many factors I feel that made them lose Route 66 here, but this was one of these moments where now AHQ find themselves in a little bit of a tight spot, and they really managed to answer back.
This is actually the fight where they finally won, I believe, to start moving the payload. A lot of kills did come through for AHQ, but with only 40 seconds to go, this should have been the moment where Blank started pushing the payload, but no, okay. I'm thinking of a different moment in time, unfortunately, but it's
the next fight.
That scene right there, that scene right there that we just saw happened about 4 or 5 times for AHQ, and Blank, they had a bit of trouble on that first checkpoint. Second checkpoint, a breeze, pretty much. And then once they get to the 3rd checkpoint, something suddenly stops. It's not like they were walking into it with 0 ultimates either. So,
but if it was a breeze for Blank, it was a gust, a gale for AHQ, because they just blew through checkpoint number 2. And I believe this is their offense here that we get to see. Trill gets a little bit tunnel vision there onto Dizzy, and that is probably the big issue for the side of Blank in this engagement there. He does manage to pick that kill up, and it's just a little too late there. It's just AHQ just pick off the weaker members as they try to dive onto the front line of AHQ.
And that's the other thing as well. You mentioned the tunnel vision coming out for Trill. Yeah, it is his job to focus down on to Dizzy, take him out of the fight, but we saw what happened. Dizzy just simply ran away after also getting a lot of damage onto Trill, charging up his ult even more, and then got to participate in the fight anyway.
No, Trill does kill him.
Trill does kill him?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter at that point.
Well, look at that. I was wrong anyway. But look, imagine though, in that situation where Blank had the protective barrier around them during that fight. If Trill was participating there, Dizzy still would have had very little effect on the fight itself, and they would have had Trill in the fight as well. There would have been a lot more protection around Blank themselves, so it is a bit of tunnel vision. Even though he gets his target down, it's a little bit too late.
I think the other thing as well is maybe Trill didn't make, I guess, the incorrect decision there. The thing was that ATAR was in amongst the main fight as well, and he got pressured down very, very easily, obviously amongst all that sort of splash damage going on in there. I think if they maybe did a bit of a role reversal and put ATAR onto killing Dizzy, and then put Trill in amongst the front line, that fight could have gone very much in the way of Blank, but I mean taking it back as well to Blank's defense, which was shaky at times.
They did manage to hold it at the very last second though, which was pretty fantastic for them. This is where the pulse bomb goes a little bit wise.
But great from Eric here. This was the game-changing play. Eric and Kalman together, finding that kill onto ATAR. This allows Dizzy to get set up around on that side flank. And then Kalman as well, just in the back lines with Eric by his side, just wipe out the back line of Blank there. Easy pickings for them there, and just walk that payload to the end.
Yeah, you could just see him go in that basic wide arc of everywhere that Blank was standing on the defense. He moves in, kills ATAR, follows through, kills Gunber as well. It was a big long path for him to take to just kill everyone on Blank. I mean, the rest of his team as well were sitting on the payload, at the same time, moving it along, putting that looming threat over Blank's heads where you've got to make the choice. Do you go back, peel for your supports, peel for your soldier, or do you try and contest the payload? And they had to make the choice that kept them in the game.
And I guess the other thing to sort of note as well is I mentioned about the aggressiveness coming through from Blank, and they really wanted to take, when they came busting out of the gates on their first piece of attack, that early fight. They wanted to find that early pick onto Dizzy. And there was a very, very strong piece of, piece of teamwork coming out from AHQ. They bait those players in, they find the kill on Aita, and then it happens exactly the same way in the second fight, which buys them a lot of charge and obviously a lot of time. But AHQ with a very strong performance there on Route 66, picking up their first map win, keeping their series hopes alive. We're going to go to a short break, and when we return, it's going to be map number 5, Blank Esports take on AHQ. We'll see you after the break. Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Pacific Championship. I am Dallas Easy Fighter. Joining me, as per usual, Matt Smite Ross, and it is indeed the playoffs. It's day number 2. And currently AHQ have just kept their tournament hopes alive by picking up Route 66 and now looking to take things to Numbani and getting themselves that second win on the board. But on the other hand, Blank lead 3 maps. 1 map away from getting to the grand final of the OPC, but AHQ looking to stand in their way, looking to bounce back off that momentum of picking up Route 66 and pick themselves up Numbani. Talk to us, Smite, about Numbani and what we expect to see.
Numbani, this is a favorite map for both of these teams, actually. You can see in the statistics as well, a very high win rate for both of these teams. I think it was 73% for AHQ, 62% for Blank, so slightly higher for AHQ. And in the matchups between the teams as well, we've actually seen mixed results, right? The first time we saw them play on this map against each other, Blank happily took down AHQ. Then 2 maps in the middle of the series, AHQ took it back. And then right at the end, it was actually Blank bringing it back as well. So a lot of history for both these teams on Numbani itself. And the most recent result though, which I personally I'm going to say is the most important one to look at, is Blank actually beat AHQ on Numbani. So they should be looking favored to win it, but look, it's still a different series today. It's still going to be a different game today. And AHQ, I've got to say, it's also their pick. And this, I'm going to bring back to what happened earlier today when it was actually Blank's pick for Hybrid. They picked Kings Row when I said maybe they could have picked Numbani because they also like that map, but AHQ were going to pick it anyway. Blank know that, so they're happy to let AHQ be forced to pick out Numbani.
I mean, quite a smart sort of, I guess overall read from Blank, when it comes to this best of 7 format. Just to reiterate, obviously for anyone who's just joining us, this is indeed a best of 7. Blank currently lead 3-1. Blank have already won themselves 1 best of 1 series yesterday, so 1 win away from those grand finals. Obviously AHQ with a bit of an uphill battle ahead of them. Obviously need to pick themselves up the full reverse sweep, 4 maps in a row, and then if they do manage to do that tonight, do it all again tomorrow.
Such a hard ask for AHQ right now, but we were saying that just before when we went to Route 66, where they were still 1 game away from letting Blank go to the finals and leaving the OPC for Season 1. So they managed to do it on Route 66. I'm sure they can do it another 7 times, right, to get all the way to the grand finals.
Right. Well, right, you are entitled to that opinion. I will remain no comment as I have no bias towards either of these teams, but I feel that Blank are sitting in a very good position, obviously feeling confident, obviously 3 maps up, and AHQ staring down the barrel right now, only picking themselves up their first map this evening, but moments away from getting into Numbani here. This will indeed be AHQ's pick. And obviously they're going to be feeling very confident coming into this, as it looks like, I feel, a Torbjorn. And that looks like that's AHQ on defense, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, this is also a map where I'd be incredibly surprised to see a Sombra, so don't expect that to come out, even from AHQ, who have been running Sombra on a lot of unprecedented maps so far. This is looking like just a pretty standard defense coming out of Numbani. RQT does also run Torbjorn a little bit more recently. Usually, during the first few rounds of the OPC, He wasn't running Torbjorn, but it is going to be AHQ on defense, and it will be your boy Crappy on Torbjorn.
But in all honesty though, if AHQ do manage to pick themselves up Numbani, the momentum they're going to be able to build from picking up these two maps, and Blank obviously feeling a little bit frantic trying to finish out the series, this is when AHQ can come back, and they can come back with force.
This is the composition that Blank ran when they beat AHQ last on the Numbani map. So they just sit there up there with the Reinhardt, protect Atar, and just let him shoot down turrets. But look, EUUp's already taken out of the fight. It's a little bit rough.
Not the greatest start though when you trade your Tracer for a turret, but you know, at least it's something there, as AHQ do have the slight advantage here, as they don't have to worry about Eat Up for a few more seconds. As I say that though, he does make his way just back into the thick of things here, and Kiki just jumping on Crappy's head, and there will be no Torbjorn in this next fight there. Big charge coming through from Trill. Does it connect? It does not, but RQT will be there to finish off Eric. And now Atar just waiting for the biotic grenade to finish up, and now Blank in a very strong position on this high ground to work their way into this first cap.
Taking it nice and slow. Taking it nice and slow because they do eventually need to get back onto the point. Atar never wants to leave this high ground. Now his walking barrier has jumped down onto the point itself, so he's going to be a little bit more vulnerable.
Nice pulse bomb coming through from Kalman there to find Gumba up in the back lines, and now Kalman able to contest into Atar on his platform. Trill with no support on the ground gets taken out as well. Same with Kiki's mech. AHQ do support the do commit the nano boost onto Eric, allowing him to get a very quick primal rage up in case they needed it.
But they're coming up to a lot more important ults as well. That tactical visor will be ready as well, which is going to be the most important one. Once Trill's barrier is down, once Kiki's mech is out of the picture, that's really the only moment that Dizzy's going to find the best opportunity to throw out the tactical visor. So he's going to have to wait for the perfect situation, of course, but it's still the threat there for Blank.
Oh, Blank going with the full wraparound right now. Very smart play, trying to weed Dizzy out of this high ground, and we've seen this exact play come through before for the side of Blank, where it's worked to great success for them here. Atar going to be holding onto this tactical visor. A lot's going to fall into that, or the double pulse bomb coming through from Eat Up. Once more, just opening up the side of AHQ for Blank there. Self-destruct from both teams there. Now Dizzy answering back. Atar going to be still holding the tactical visor. Now counters out Dizzy's with a tactical visor of his own, but Dizzy in a stronger position, and a great piece of zoning coming through from the tanks on the AHQ side, really going to be allowing them to open back up into this fight, find the kills they desperately need. Eric, what an absolute play coming through from him there, stopping Atar's tactical visor in its tracks.
Blank, how do you lose a fight where you get 2 kills right off the bat? That's such an awkward position to be in, because they did commit quite a lot to that. Spent a lot of time setting it up, and like you said, Eric and just jumping in and shutting down the tactical visor after they'd already evened up the kills. So great moves by AHQ to come back in and keep that fight alive.
Yeah, a little bit too long on the tactical visor there. Now Blank opting for a different route. Once again, there comes the Earth Shatter from Trill. Can they manage to turn that into a kill? Nice nano boost onto Eric to keep him alive through the entire ordeal. Manages to get the primal rage off, and now Blank surely not long for this world, as Eric N just manhandling them all over the streets.
Wow, just another fail push there by Blank as well, trying to go for once more, another wraparound, but they spend so much time trying to focus down the nano boost of Winston while he's stunned, while he slept, and then eventually they almost get him down, but then Primal Rage is of course there, and so all of that damage that Blank contributed to that fight, useless, gone. And then AHQ simply turned around and said, well, we've been doing damage the whole fight, so we win, right?
So now Blank, time running out. 10 seconds left on the clock. Tactical visor from Atar coming in extremely early. Surely they have the tools to deal with this. They've already lost Dizzy though. So AHQ need to find something. A lot of pressure from the tanks to get on top of him. Crappy will have the Molten Core to try and hold things down here. Great shot finding Eat Up as he tries to get into the flanking position. They've demexed Kiki. They've taken out Atar as well. So AHQ might have done this right here. Held them at first point, unless a miracle for the side of Blank can come through. And is the sound barrier the miracle they were looking for? Not today, as Lazy Titan explodes all over Gumba. Just RQT going to be left here. The tactical visor, can he get back? No, he can't. And that's going to be that. And AHQ get themselves a full hold on Numbani.
Wow, it's starting to look even more one-sided than Route 66. Blank had no hope on that map, and remember, they did exactly the same thing the last time AHQ faced off against them on Numbani, so they're going to be ready. They knew that this is what Blank was likely to pull out, and they were prepared. And a lot of Blank's engagements were just shut down so hard. the best opportunity, that double pulse bomb. That should have been the moment that Blank were able to take the fight, but...
It's like they were gifted the first point on a platter, but then just a few individual amazing plays coming out from AHQ. The positioning that they pulled out just then was insane.
Gotta say as well, just from a point of view not regarding the player's skill as well, is that one of the pulse bomb kills was actually on Crappy as well. And killing Torbjorn, that is a good thing to do, but if you don't kill the turret as well during that fight, then it's still going to be pumping out that damage. It's still going to be a threat that you do need to deal with. And it's essentially like another half player is still there. So 1.5 kills, you know, in a weird way of talking about it, is still a good opportunity for Blank to go in. That
1.75.
1.75, I'll give you that. And it's still good for Blank to go in, but yet AHQ still managed to pull it back.
And now the pressure's on Blank to get themselves a full hold here on Numbani. And the thing is as well, you know, on Route 66, their defense looked a little bit shaky. Now coming into Numbani, they're going to need to change something.
At the very least, though, if there is a hybrid map to get a first hold on, it is Numbani. It's got such a long run back for the attackers. The defenders don't even have to run too far to get here. But Blank, it's still going to be a huge task for them to deal with here. And even then, it would still be a draw, which would go to a golden point, which, by the way, that is one round of a control map, and winner takes this map.
Well, we'll find out what's going to happen here and see if we're going to the golden point or if AHQ are getting themselves their second point on the series this evening here. And Kalman already in a very great position to work out where these Blank players are holding.
Still always worried about that Torbjorn as well. You can't really play too safely into it, but in any case, AHQ have stormed in, but they're storming the low ground, and Blank are just sitting up here saying, hello, you can't reach us.
Yeah, if they don't manage to convert the kill onto Atar, this might be disaster for AHQ. Atar does somehow sustain through this fight. Eat Up takes a big spike of damage, but now Blank answering back right into the faces of AHQ as they get caught pushing in a little bit too aggressively, but Dizzy going to be demecking Kiki. They might be able to go for a re-engage as they already have a Primal Rage onto Eric. There comes the Nano Boost on top of him, and now this is when Blank need to find this kill onto Eric as he's a little bit caught out, but he'll just take Gumba out with no support in hand. 12 HP. Finally, Blank find the kill there onto Eric and will stabilize this defense for a small amount of time.
AHQ are trying to win this off one long protracted team fight, and it's a dangerous, risky move because every member that they do lose is such a long run back. Like I said, for the attackers, it just takes way too long to respawn and get in there. So it's a risky move, and they committed ults to it. So Blank can be happy that they did hold on to it without committing too many ults of their own. In fact, absolutely none. Even Pulse Bomb wasn't used.
And as you say, Pulse Bomb wasn't used. It's used now to send Karez back to spawn. And a great opening there for Blank once more to buy themselves some more time here. Again, looking for that full first point hold to have any chance at taking this map out. But the thing is here as well, AHQ slowly building towards those ultimates. Kalman, again, great position here. Watch if he can land this pulse bomb.
Oh, it's almost like you want to be quiet so Blank doesn't hear him. This is sneaky. Oh, this could be a triple kill.
Oh, he's found the opening. He's thrown it out. It doesn't connect. It might indeed have been eaten. We'll have to wait until to see if that sound patch could come any sooner here for the D.Va. But surely Kalman in a great position can't find an opening there with the pulse bomb. And now the fighting is breaking out just down the street here. The tactical visor from Atar going to be enough to force AHQ back here as he's got the nano boost as well, picking himself up a triple kill there. The primal rage being committed from Trill. Basically everything in the bank that Blank was saving up there comes through, wins them this fight. But now moving into the next one, Dizzy holding on to attack visor of his own. Eat Up is going to need to find him.
But also played well. Kiki can do just that job. Trill as well. We've seen Winston's block out tactical visors almost entirely. So Dizzy will have to wait once more for the perfect moment to throw this impactful ultimate out. Remember, they've only got 1 minute to go. It's going to be a nano visor, so it's going to be imperative that Blank shut this down.
Yes, with 1 minute left on the clock, Smite, pressure is on for AHQ to find this opening. They obviously only need to get that 1/3 for them to pick up the win here, so Things looking good for AHQ if they can win this next fight out. Nice Biotic Grenade. Can they convert it into a kill though? They can indeed, as Trill's going to find Karez. So there's going to be no nano boost in this next fight. Blank opening things up with a greatly placed Biotic Grenade.
That's a big D-mech right there. They can delay this so much because he will be able to jump off, but that is still an extra few seconds that AHQ cannot afford to wait right now. They've got less than 30 seconds to go. They've got to get in position. Only respawning right now. They've got to run to the point. It's going to be barely 10 seconds for them to jump on. And you've said it before, Cowman, he's got to go big with this pulse bomb.
And Blank, though, they don't have much left in the form of ultimates. They need to be able to build them up. This time, though, Atar's going to be ready for him. Nice dodging and diving here, but the Pulse Bomb almost finds its mark, but not today. Huge Biotic Grenade from Gumba to keep everyone alive. Now the Nano Visor from Dizzy. It's going to need to come up big here, but even trades already across the board, and Atar's Visor is far better in a far stronger position there as he's able to find that kill onto Dizzy as he runs off down the street. Always check both ways before you cross the road there, mate. And now Blank looking to edge themselves ahead and get this full hold. AHQ did manage to get themselves very close to capping it, but Blank will be successful in holding that. And Smite, you know what that means.
We're going to golden points where it's going to be one round of control, and the team that takes it out, one map, will take out Numbani. And that is so close to victory right now, so close to the finals for Blank. You can even see Kiki bowing his head, praying to take out this control point.
You had one shot.
One opportunity. Let's not do this.
Would you capture it?
Let's not
The
do
point?
this. Yeah, would you capture the point? I'd capture the point.
Or would you let it slip to Eric N's Primal Rage?
Well, no one let the point slip in this Numbani. They were
Well, yeah,
both
all the attacking teams let the point slip.
Exactly. But the defending teams didn't let it slip, is what I was getting at. So
It depends on your perspective. Is the glass half full? Is the glass half empty?
Who knows?
What is your response?
It depends if you're filling it up or emptying it. If you're filling up a glass and it gets to half full, then it's half full. If you're emptying it, look.
You're a modern day philosopher, mate.
You are getting me off topic here because we are still in the middle of a series here. We are still barely even a map, half a map, 1/3 of a map away from Blank getting to the grand finals here. And they've also been the favored team on control as well. So no matter where we go, it's still going to be in Blank's favor, unless we go to Ruins where HQ kind of wiped the floor with Blank.
So AHQ begging for Ilios, any map on Ilios really, to make a return, but Blank probably feeling pretty confident if it goes anywhere else. Actually, maybe not. They're probably praying for Lijiang Tower. If we go to Oasis, I'm not too sure.
We'll have to wait and see, just to find out which map we do go to, but there it is. It's the trophy. It's what they're all playing for today. And Blank, like I said before, so close. So close. You've got to be feeling the nerves right now. And that's a huge thing. Remember, they are playing live. They are playing in front of a Taiwanese crowd who will be cheering for AHQ, who will be cheering every time Blank lose a team fight, every failure that Blank make today is going to be met with cheers from the crowd. But
I'm like, is it? The crowd looks extremely animated in the few shots we've seen.
That's because Blank have been winning most of the matches so far. So in any case, Blank on the cusp of victory here. The nerves have got to be getting to them. That's the point that
Blank,
I was getting
I don't know
at.
about the nerves for them right now. They're going to be feeling, I feel, quite confident coming into this. Obviously, have already picked up control in this series, the last control they played last night as well. Obviously, they do have to be a little bit wary of Ilios if that is the map that gets picked up. But Blank, one map away from taking out the playoffs against AHQ. And it's coming down to Lijiang, where Blank feels so very confident.
But then again, AHQ feel very confident on Lijiang as well. Ooh, which one are we going to?
Is this the selection process?
There it is. That's how they do it.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
You just eeny, meeny, miny, mo to get there. But it is going to be Gardens. And I think this is actually the map that both teams managed to pick up a win on when they played earlier today. So there is an equal opportunity for either team here to pick up a win here. Both running the same compositions that they were running before, those soldier-based compositions, the double hit scan. We'll see who takes it out.
And both of these teams getting extremely scrappy to start things off, just charging head first into each other there. Kiki, though, needs to be careful and not get demech'd in this situation as Eat Up manages to find that kill onto Eric. Trill there as well to pick up Karez in the back lines. Atar as well. Now AHQ going to be answering back. But Blank have a very strong position out in the house here. They're going to be able to deal with Kalman most likely as he tries to make his escape. Indeed, they catch him. Now, first cap should surely be falling in the way of Blank. Great early engagement for the Blank team, but now AHQ going to need to find an opening, but Eat Up already aware of that white room route that they like to take.
Of course, that pulse bomb will be able to block it out, but AHQ, even though losing the fight, Dizzy did manage to pick up the tactical visor for it. Kiki and Trill, it's going to be on them to shut him down. A lot of space for a soldier to use.
Oh my, Kalman throws that pulse bomb out, doesn't connect, but what a great push coming through from him there. Now the counter pulse grenade coming through from, it looks like to be Eat Up there. He does not manage to finish the kill with the pulse bomb, but he still will take the mech out of Lazy Titan. And Blank, very aggressive counterplay coming through from them, not letting AHQ across the bridge, not letting them near the point at all. Now 33%.
Oh, good kill.
Oh, lots of ultimates coming up for the side of Blank as well here, Smite.
Always got to be aware of those cross-map right clicks coming out from Zenyatta's. They can just simply one-shot you, especially if they end up headshotting you. So that's just going to buy more time for Blank, who are reaching that halfway mark. This is where AHQ want to go into the point. The Nano Visor is really all they've got here. They can throw a Primal Rage into the mix, but this is going to be risky.
And last time they did this, AHQ had a full set of ultimates to work with, and they still got beaten. And now Blank ahead on ultimates once more. Have seen this attack come through before. Nice little poke coming through in the back lines from Eat Up there to try and take out Karez. Sound Barrier going to be pushing AHQ through and forward into this fight here now. Nano Visor for Dizzy. Needs to come up big as now Atar is going to be answering back with attack visor of his own, but he gets taken out, and somehow AHQ come through the white room this time and come out on top of the fight. But Blank's still 77% and the clock is still ticking. They're still buying so much time on the point here and now looking to contest it, Smite.
Blank will very likely lose this fight here, but they will, like you said, buy a lot of time. Their tanks are alive, jumping around the point, and despite this, they will die eventually, but getting over that 90% mark now means that Blank can win one more fight and take out this control point map, take out the golden point, and take out this best of 7 series, sending them into the finals. But they do have to win that one more fight.
Well, they still haven't managed to recap this off the back of Blank yet. Absolutely insane play coming through from Trill and the likes of Eat Up as well, really staggering this one out. Eat Up actually takes out Kalman before this engagement with the pulse bomb, and now AHQ are forced to commit more. Another tactical visor, another sound barrier. They are picking the kills up this time. They should surely recap it off the back of this, but they're going to be left quite dry. But Blank have actually committed quite a lot of their own, really throwing themselves at this point here. There's the Primal Rage from Trill to keep the hopes alive. Does pick up some kills, but it's not enough as Kalman back in the fray. Now Eat Up needs to come up big, or Blank are going to be going home here, and surely AHQ will recap. Indeed they do.
Holding on.
But wow, Smite.
Holding on by a thread here. The pulse bomb, it's not going to find... No, just kidding, it finds RQT.
What a great start there is now for AHQ, as they've got a long road ahead of them, and Blank really not letting them, not wanting them to set up at all on this point. But now AHQ in a strong position to hold it down. 20% on the progress meter. Let's see if they can win themselves another fight here as Blank look to go through the white room and see if they can come up with more than AHQ.
Probably want to avoid the bridge because last time they did that, triple group by Crappy, send them all down to the bottomless pit. But in any case, they've got a lot of ults coming in. No nano visor, but it will be a tactical visor, just the regular kind. That is enough for them to get out a win in the team fight here.
Well, the Transcendence coming through from Karez early here. There's still the sound barrier now being used for the side of Blank. Doesn't do too much there. Unbelievable Kiki with the triple self-destruct. How did AHQ let themselves get caught out by that? And now this is absolute disaster for AHQ. Losing 3 members to just 1 ultimate of the self-destruct. Blank recap. Overtime ticking down. AHQ looking a little bit bewildered as to what has just happened to them right now on Lijiang. Kalman, with all hopes left on him right now, trying to keep this one alive, throwing out that pulse bomb, doesn't convert it into a kill, and now surely AHQ, anyone, anywhere, it's gonna be Lazy Titan in the nick of time, keeping overtime alive, but surely these AHQ members can't get back as they just trickle into the point, and can Blank do it? Indeed they can, and they're going to the finals.
And you've got to expect the entire team is going to be thanking Kiki after that ultimate. Unbelievable triple kill is what sends them
Oh
to
no,
the
get it
finals.
out of here. Get it out of here. Show us.
Show us the triple kill.
Show us the self-destruct.
Well, it very likely happens here because I imagine Atar will tag everyone with... No? Okay, it doesn't happen here, but look, it was an unbelievable self-destruct, and AHQ have got to be... They've got to be kicking themselves, letting that happen to them, but Blank have got to be patting themselves on the back there. They've got to be
patting
cheering.
themselves, they'd be patting
Patting
Kiki on the
Kiki,
back.
yeah, of course. But look, that
No,
was...
it's obviously a team effort, let's be honest. It's a team game.
Yeah, zoning ult by killing them. But look, that's incredible. That is amazing. That one ultimate sends them to the finals. But to their credit, they played well on the defense on Numbani. Let's not forget this was for Numbani. They held out that defense, and even though it was a draw on Numbani, I'd say it was just a little bit more in favor of Blank there. Their defense just seemed to shut down every single thing that AHQ did. But even though I'm saying it's in their favor, it's only very slightly.
And what an absolute journey it's obviously been for Blank. With the hopes of Oceania on their shoulders, they will indeed be progressing to the Overwatch Pacific Championship Finals to take on Flash Wolves. But I mean, we're obviously going to hear it from the boys soon to sort of talk about their experiences and, you know, how they've come to this point. But AHQ were definitely building momentum, you know, coming off the back of that Route 66 win on Numbani. I mean, you say that Blank was obviously looking a little bit stronger, in your opinion. There was still probably another fight if AHQ didn't get themselves triple self-destructed there. But, you know, who's to say, you know, AHQ could have picked themselves up that Lijiang, obviously picking themselves up Numbani, and we could be going to obviously another map again right now.
Exactly, and even though it was the first 3 maps in a row won for Blank, it was incredibly close. You've got to give it to the boys at AHQ. They did a spectacular job in not just this best of 7, but the one last night as well. They won 2 maps right off the back, right off the bat, rather, I'd say. But look, they did a great job in both of these best of 7s, and the word of the day was scrappy for all of these best of 7s because they were so close, so back and forth. And the only maps that actually looked one-sided were actually AHQ, who would only be on Route 66 for that one-sidedness, but they were the only team to completely demolish a map.
That's very, very true. And I mean, just taking a look at obviously the path of the playoffs here as well, you know, on round 1, AHQ did pick themselves up those first 2 maps, but then Blank made very swift work of them for the next 4, as you can see, obviously turning things around and throwing the momentum and the confidence back into their favor. And then tonight, Blank started off strong, picking up 3 maps in a row there, and then AHQ really taking it to Blank there on Route 66 with a very strong performance. And then when it came down to Numbani, Blank had no answer for their offense. AHQ had no answer for their offense. So we went to Lijiang Tower, it was settled there, it was settled on control, and Blank, they came out on top. And now AHQ going to be going back to the drawing board, looking forward into OPC Season 2. Blank will get a shot at the big dogs, the Flash Wolves.
And this is a team that has looked completely out of this world. Ever since the second half of the regular season, they've just been untouchable. In fact, they've been undefeated, not even dropping a single map, I believe, for the second half of the OPC. So this is a new height for Blank to try and reach right now. It's great that they managed to beat AHQ, but like I said, a lot of these maps very quite close. So now they're going to have to step it up for the next week because unfortunately, that performance wouldn't be enough against the Flash Wolves. If this was Flash Wolves playing AHQ tonight, we wouldn't have even seen a lot of these maps. It would have just been 4-0s for both nights.
So obviously, Flash Wolves versus Blank Esports will be starting next week, so do get yourselves hyped up for that. But before we sort of get into that there's sort of a few things to talk about there. Obviously, Flash Wolves, you know, very strong performance throughout the regular season. I believe they finished on what? Can we bring up the scoreboard? They're 79-10. So they lost 10 maps in their entirety. Obviously, 3 matches overall, which was to Blank,
AHQ, and Marchi.
Wow, you're so good at remembering. Big fan of you, mate.
I can remember 3 things.
Good.
I'm pretty good at it.
Love it. But now, just taking us a quick look back at Numbani, the offenseless.
This is Blank on the offense here, where
This is when I thought that they were going to be able to define something, but that nano boost was huge to keep Eric alive through this.
Yeah, the nano boost was good. It was clearly going to bring out a lot of damage, and that was the intention for AHQ. What Blank were trying to do was shut down that damage, focus down the nano boosted Winston. So there's a 50% damage reduction on nano boost, so that's already going to take up a lot of your damage allocation. But then straight after you're about to kill him, the second that you're ready to finally see the fruits of your labor with all that damage being focused, he throws out Primal Rage and makes it all worthless, and a single tear is shed for all the Blank players as they realize that they've just lost the fight. And Primal Rage as well doesn't just bring you up to 1,000 health, throws you all over the place too. That's exactly what we saw.
And the other thing as well to sort of look, I guess the strength, looking towards for AHQ's offense there was Kalman in such a strong position, wrapping around the street every single time, getting himself up onto that high ground, and where it looked like he was able to set himself up for almost a triple pulse bomb at times, Blank were able to really sort of counterplay that, and then when it came down, to the wire, Blank were well aware of it, and great sort of counterplay coming up from the three of them up on that high ground there. That might be what we're getting to see here, and I think it might be.
Yeah, so when we have AHQ on the attack, actually this is Blank's last attack, I believe.
Oh no, I'm incorrect.
Yes, this is Blank's last attack. So they do go in, but they lose Eat Up pretty much immediately, and this is where they're trying to sit on the point and get any progress on it at all. If they can get past the third, that could have been a completely different map, but unfortunately, this is where they're just throwing out everything they've got as soon as they've got it, because of course you do, it's overtime, but sound barrier is not going to be enough when it's only hitting 3 or 4 people.
Most definitely, and I guess the other thing as well is they really had to initiate the fight with the tactical visor from ATAR, which really allowed AHQ to counterplay the entirety of that fight there, hide, let's not peek him while he's, obviously going for tactical visor, then they're allowed to re-engage, they don't have tactical visor to work with. No nano boost, obviously, because not running Ana at this point, and just very sort of, I guess, frantic play coming through from Blank. But what is this here? I think this might be when we see Kalman go for that pulse bomb, their last ditch offense.
Yeah, this is very likely going to be the triple pulse bomb. No, so that was actually, we saw that from Kalman's point of view. He had a poke up. Wow, that actually didn't kill anyone. But
yeah, do you not remember?
Yeah,
a great counterplay.
I remember it, but you could see that ATAR knew he was there. He was poking his head in, just checking to see, making sure he can find a kill on him, or at the very least not die to pulse bomb. And just the very knowledge that he was there was allowed them to survive through that pulse bomb.
Yeah, you can't fool old ATAR twice, obviously, in that situation. They're definitely catching on to Kalman's little flanking route, because obviously he'd already done the exact same one in a prior engagement, which still somehow didn't come up with any kills either as well.
Yeah.
I think we might have either seen it get eaten or, again, just misplaced, but probably eaten.
Yeah, the first one, it had to have been eaten because it looked like it was just a direct hit. I didn't even see the pulse bomb itself on the ground. I didn't think the D.Va was nearby, but didn't quite see the pulse bomb land, so it had to have been eaten, like you said. And then we saw it just on that replay happen again. He came up, but the fact that they knew he was there just allowed them to deal with it. I mean, you've got to have very, very tight reactions to dodge a pulse bomb like that, but when you have prior knowledge that the Tracer is sneaking around, is very clearly just going to blink 2 or 3 times, throw the pulse bomb, then you have additional time to react.
And I guess when it comes to, the golden point going to Lijiang Tower, if you're Blank, you're feeling pretty happy about it coming back to Lijiang Tower. You've already picked up Lijiang when it was picked for control this evening. So, I mean, taking it back to where Blank feel comfortable, obviously it showed this time as well. Blank actually win themselves for the early engagement, which has been a rare sight in tonight's series.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing that actually stood out for me when we went to Gardens, is that Blank did win that first engagement. You could actually see both teams just, they crashed in the middle right around that pole, and it was pretty terrifying to see because both the soldiers were very much unattacked, right? No one was targeting them, no one was jumping on top of them. Dizzy and ATAR getting to go pretty nuts. And then the fight actually moved into the building, which was pretty interesting, but eventually Blank did end up winning it, and it did all stem off the fact that they did get the very first kill.
I think the other thing as well is that Blank did a very good job at making AHQ play their game. I think when we went to Route 66, AHQ did a great job at making Blank play their style of Overwatch. But you can see it there in Lijiang Tower, taking a look at the replay here. the just general aggressiveness that Blank like to play with, they force AHQ into a very similar situation, and Blank are just, I feel, on the fly a little bit better at making these on the fly decisions, a little bit better at that frantic play.
Look at the positioning of Atar though, just so far back as well, and you can see Eat Up as well. He's flanking around, and they almost concave and completely collapse onto AHQ, who are just surrounded at that point because of where Eat Up is, and they end up losing the fight because of that.
And in that as well, you know, because of that early engagement in that position from Atar that allows them to sort of wipe out the AHQ players, Dizzy's left all by his lonesome, which is a very rare occurrence, obviously, for AHQ, who are, you know, we should call them the
Protect Dizzy Club.
The Protect Dizzy Club. Something along these lines, because obviously that's been, I guess, you know, their core winning strategy that sort of comes through for them there. And I mean, Dizzy, you know, trying to hunt down Trill at the end, he's looking the wrong direction, and behind him there's just all these hungry Blank players saying, coming for you, mate. And he's like, no, I'm just going to kill this monkey real quick.
Yeah, you mean, I'm just going to charge my ultimate real quick, because that's what he did. I said it during the match itself as well. Even though they lost the fight, he somehow got his ultimate up. So AHQ...
Well, it shows the difference as well between Atar's soldier and his soldier.
Yeah, I mean, you could even see Atar, like I said, he was playing very, very far back, very safe, very conservative. The fact is, he's not the soldier that died during that fight. So it clearly worked out for him. In some cases, of course, being more aggressive is going to pay out a whole lot more. We've seen that happen for Dizzy. So it's great to see Blank are now adapting the conservative play as well when it's actually going to work for them. So it's very good to see.
Well, obviously, congratulations to Blank, who have obviously moving forward into the grand final, taking on Flash Wolves next weekend, and that is going to be an absolute ripper of a series. Obviously, Flash Wolves, who have been looking so strong throughout the OPC, and we were touching on it very briefly just before Smite. The biggest thing for Flash Wolves, obviously, had some time off, so now they've still obviously been practicing. Will they be cold coming into the series? But the other conversation point is that they've seen Blank Esports play these best of 7 series. You know, AHQ were not pushovers by any stretch of the imagination. At times it looked like they were looking to take out these series.
It's the age-old
They've
question.
obviously had to force Blank's hand in a lot of their offenses, a lot of their defenses. Blank only have a week obviously to come up with some new tricks, which seems very unlikely considering the level at which they're playing at. Flash Wolves probably sitting in a very nice seat going into the grand final.
It's the age-old question of when a team is directly seeded into the finals and the other team that they'll be playing has to play a few more matches to actually get there. And, you know, there's the advantage, of course, of having that week off, that week of rest, that week of practice. But then there's also the argument for there's momentum coming in for Blank, who are now going to be on a high for their morale, their play as well. It's just going to be an incredible advantage.
Extremely
for them,
fitting as well, I feel, giving Gumba the play of the game.
Yep, going over for his Sombra play as well. Remember, he's going up against Kerez on a lot of these maps, who's matching him on that Sombra, and it's, I mean, you mentioned this a lot during the matches themselves, is that Sombra versus Sombra matchup is actually quite crucial, because if you're hacked by the enemy Sombra's EMP, then you obviously can't use your own one, and that is almost a losing condition for your fight, for your team during that fight, because Sombra without EMP is not a lot to talk about.
Well, I mean, there's not a lot to
even
talk
hack.
about unless you're Kalman sitting in the big health pack room just trying to sneak for the next fight, and then Gumba finds you and then just kills you by himself.
That's
So,
true.
That is the thing there, because, you know, Gumba was very good in some of those solo situations, but as well as I mentioned it throughout Volskaya, I feel that he not single-handedly but had a very, very strong performance there, which really was the key to them picking up Volskaya.
Yeah, I mean, Gumba definitely pulled out a lot. I'm not going to say like only for Sombra as well, because the rest of his play was quite good as well. It's sometimes hard to notice on heroes like Zenyatta, where you can only really appreciate the transcendences that come out, but those shot calls have to be made basically perfectly, and sometimes there's not time to wait for the shot caller either, is that you have to make that decision on the fly as well.
Actually, I had completely forgotten about how insane his Zenny was as well throughout this entire series. There was times where obviously he gets dived on, and, you know, being Zenyatta, you're just completely open to everything. He turns that around with a kill for his team. I think there was that piece of offense. I think that was the attack where Blank actually get themselves the two on Volskaya,
Yeah.
the 2 quarters, because they try to dive onto Gumba, and then he kills I believe it's Carez who's right in front of him, finds the headshot, and then that's when Blank just goes straight in. I think ATAR gets a triple with the Dragon Blade, and then they get themselves, 2/3 off the point from such a long-winded fight.
It's actually something that a lot of the supports have been asked in interviews as well, is how do you feel with this dive meta coming out? How do you survive as a support in these situations? Apparently you kill them, but that's also what a lot of supports from teams like Flash Wolves have said.
Oh, we're going to flick over to the interview here, have a quick browse as to what Edup's got to say.
来，我们访问到的是选手 ID Love。Say hello to everyone.
Hello everyone. I'm Ido from Blank Esports.
教练，你是太开心是不是？
有点啊
直接一个站正中间，很想受访。
有点开心。
好了，好，今天因为今天毕竟赛前喊话都已经喊得这么凶了嘛，对不对？就是不赢，好像也是有点尴尬。
是别人的主意
啊，是别人的主意，都推给别人。好了，那我们今天先问一下选手 ID Love 吧。其实他今天的闪光发挥的非常的好，我看了都觉得怎么会有这么烦的闪光？那甚至也有人说前几场胜利好像其实都可以归功在闪光身上，他自己是什么看法？
She's never seen like a tracer as long as you for the enemy team. She felt like you carried the first 3 maps. What are your thoughts on that?
I was pretty happy about my performance the first 3 maps. I wouldn't say I carried. I think the team played pretty well at the start, and I'm pretty happy with our performance.
他觉得不是他单一 carry 的，他是觉得说就是前几张图的时候，团队都有发挥，都有做得很好，所以就拿下前3张图。
是的，你们今天的开战时机都非常的完美，感觉好像都已经摸透了 HQ 的战术，会是因为昨天打满的关系吗？
It felt like we knew what HQ was doing on every point. Is it because we analyzed them completely?
We've played against this team quite a lot. I guess that comes, like the knowledge comes with playing against them, and we also watch their VODs as well, obviously, and as a result, we know what they do like most of the time.
就是昨天完比赛之后，我们也是做了检讨之后，看了比赛的一些录像，还有以前的比赛，所以今天他拿出这些阵容，其实我们都先预计到，都已经知道了，就是他们拿出来之前，我都已经知道了。
其实是昨天做了一番研究啦。那今天还有一张图蛮特别，是在国王大道的地方 ，HQ 的一团人就挤在下水道里面，然后你们是做了一个非常完美的包夹，这个是事先策划好了吗？
On the second map on Kings Row, there was a part where the team was stuck all the way in the subway, and we did a perfect flank with you chasing from behind everyone else going around. Was that something we planned?
It's not really planned. I guess it was like natural for us because it happened in the scrim, and we all went the same way last time. But this time, I guess we naturally chose to split up, and that's what happened.
他们躲在那个地下道的时候，我没有特地的计划就是说直接去包夹，是因为在练习的时候有过一支队伍，就是他们躲在下面，结果我们没有完成一个好的包夹，所以从那边有学习到。
哇，所以等于说对下水道是有警戒心的耶，那这是一个很不错的经验，因为那个其实是那场比赛的小关键啦。那再来是你们在获得3胜的时候，其实你们在1胜就会获得胜利了。可是，在那一刻你们选的图却是你们平常不会选的66号公路，因为通常这个时候应该会选择最有把握的地图，为什么会做这个选择？
We're up 3-0 already, and for our 4th map we picked the Escort map. We picked Route 66, which we never played at the OPC. Why did we pick Route 66?
We picked it because it's a really good map for us. I guess what happened there is maybe we just let our guard down and didn't play as well as we should have.
就是那个66号公路对我来说是一张很厉害，是我们很好的地图之一，所以我们才会希望就是第4张的时候直接拿出来。只是我们在那张地图上的表现不是太好，我们有点开始没有戒心了，因为已经3年了嘛，所以就开始没有戒心了。所以大家也会注意到说，我们前2点的守护实在是没有那么好，只是第3点的时候就几乎把它4分钟就直接抹掉。
有点松懈了啦。那最后，因为今天的闪光其实表现得非常好，也限制到了 Common 的输出。那下周要面对的是闪亮的 Bacon Jack 选手，他也是一位非常出色的闪光选手，所以那他有没有什么想跟 Bacon Jack 说的？
Today, you really, you 有点差点说出脏话，所以先you basically just beat Callan's Tracer every time. So next week we're playing against Flash Wolves, who's even better Tracer. Is there anything you want to say to Bacon Jack?
I'll be on you, man. Just keep doing the guard down. Yeah.
他吃定你了，不要掉你信心。
哇，这个口气也是蛮大的。今天赛前这个是不是他教你讲的？
不是。
好了，那最后有没有什么想要说的？因为今天获得胜利了嘛。
今天很开心，大家可以来这边看我们比赛，然后也是就是平常算的话，就是观众比较冷淡，但是我们就很高兴说这2天季后赛的时候会有这么多人来支持我们。就算大家也为 HQ 欢呼过我们，我们实在不在意，就是大家都是喜欢斗志推攻，所以才会来这里。真的感谢大家，谢谢。
教练，我是问选手。没有啊，选手有没有什么要讲？选手有没有什么要讲
？Is there anything you want to say?
Just thank you for supporting us. Like the crowd cheering when we're winning as well, even though we're not Taiwanese. Yeah, it's a really great feeling. Thank you.
就谢谢大家支持我们，毕竟我们不是台湾人，然后还有这么多人可以支持我们，他觉得非常非常欣慰，谢谢大家。
好，对。
我想说的一件事情就是，他计划在比赛完回去之后，开台直播。他想要做就是台湾现在有一个活动，就是可以如果你在那个游乐场联谊市场的话，可以参加一个抽奖。他想要参加，所以如果大家有空的话，请看一下他的直播，谢谢。
他今天晚上会开实况吗？
是的。
想这个你笑什么？教练怎么可以笑他？这个想学闪光的，今天晚上就锁定一下啦。那我们这边要进行一下小广告，等一下有沙发区的访问，但是现场的观众等下不要急着走，我们最后还有现场的抽奖活动。
Heard some pretty interesting bants coming through from Eat Up there. Obviously, Bacon Jack needs to watch out next week. There's going to be an extremely good tracer all over you, mate. I love the crowd's reaction there as well. Like, ooh, he just said something about his mother. It's like so hectic, like.
Yeah, I think something must have been a little bit lost in translation there because that was quite a reaction.
Oh yeah, that was like what was it? When oh my gosh, that was so good. When there was that moment, she obviously said like you destroyed Calvin on Tracer or something like that, and he was like, ooh, don't want to say that.
He's trying to make it a little bit softer, right? Saying like, oh, you beat Cal, man. You're a little bit better than him, but. Look, I mean,
I've really got to give it to. He was all over Kalman that time. You know, Kalman really likes to set up for those plays. It's one thing that obviously AHQ I think do very well. You know, those real like concise, calculated attacks. But that showed as well. Coming from Eat Up's mouth there is that they do a lot of on-the-fly decision making, and like they talked about it on that King's Road there as well. Is that they play and they flow naturally as a team, and that's something that obviously Flash Wolves have to be waresome about when they come up against Blank, is that Flash Wolves I feel are as good at doing that on the fly as well, and do have as strong players on the team. But if Blank get rolling, they're a very momentum based team. That's where they're going to really fall into their stride. And there was something as well I mentioned on Route 66 about them getting a little bit too overconfident, and I mean he said that, and I'm so happy that I was right there, because you see ATAR get killed back to back and they're like, bro, just calm down.
Yeah, unfortunately they couldn't calm down in time. But we will go to a couch interview with a few of the remaining members of Blank.
2位队员来接受我们的访问，请跟大家问个好 ，say hello。
Hey，嗨，
大家好。
对，这边很特别，因为我们是请到的双辅助 RQT 以及钢霸来接受我们的一个访问哦。先问一个比较有趣的一个问题：如果你们在下个礼拜拿到冠军了，奖金有300万，你们打算怎么运用这笔奖金
？If we win next week, we get $3 million Taiwanese in prize. How do we plan to use it?
I can't speak for everyone, but I'll definitely just be saving it. That's all. Nothing exciting.
I think I'll save it as well. To be honest, I'm a pretty boring person. So.
阿 K 是表示说，大概也没有什么计划，是会把它存起来。然后刚宝是说，他其实也是要只是存起来了。但是我想说，就是从猎谷帮开始，就是我们那次赢得的奖金，全部都有存下来，然后是计划当我们团队的开销，支付我们团队的开销。所以来台湾的时候，最近的开销也全部都是从猎谷帮比赛用的奖金。所以谢谢大家，那个时候大家一起比赛啊。
是，那当然也欢迎各企业哦，真的对 Blank 有兴趣的，赶快跟教练联络来赞助他们。他们在台湾打出一个非常好看的一个比赛哦。那当然，另外一个问题就是想要问一下2位辅助，对于很多玩家来讲，他不见得是非常高端的。那他们在打 rank 的时候，或者是他们刚刚组队的时候，双辅助他在队上一定是扮演很关键的角色。那两边的一个分工是怎么样，或者是他必须要怎么样去判断现场的一个局势，然后比如说开大的一个局势呢？可不可以请2位跟我们分享一下
？As to the 2 support players in our team, he wants to ask a question, asking if is not as high ranked and they made a team, like what would you want to like advise what advice would you give to the 2 support players on the team, and how would you distribute the work between 2 supports? And yeah, that's generally it.
Biggest advice would be that in reality, you can just focus on making decisions for your team as a support player, and that's where me and Gumba came from a different game where it was a lot more about decision making. So that's where we started from, and obviously our skill has gotten better as we've just played the game more. So practicing as well, just you're gonna get better.
他是说，当2个辅助的话，你最主要的东西就是给你队伍一个方向做指挥，然后就是给你队伍有一个一个目标这样子。然后他们2个以前玩的是魔兽世界，然后那个时候就魔兽世界也是比较注重于就是团体配合，还有做一些决定，所以他们是带了那个时候的经验来，然后就是玩了很多斗争特工，然后求于进步，所以才会有现在今天。
I think that, as an aside note, flex support players should work really hard on practicing their mechanical abilities and the hero pulls, and Lucio players should work more on the strategy and calling for the team. I think those are the more natural roles.
就是以现在的match 来说的话，就是通常都会有一只路修，然后还有另外一个副补，就是要么是安娜，或是和尚，或是慈悲。他是说如果安娜慈悲跟和尚的玩家的话，需要比较注重的是个人实力，然后把大局观或者是计划或者是就是团队的团战的一些计划留给路修来主导。
我这边谢谢2位的一个分享。那我再问第3个问题，就是对于你们来讲，因为提前跟 HQ 已经在这个礼拜打了，而且也端出很多张地图，对于你们来讲会不会是一个压力？因为下个礼拜你们即将就要遇到冠军赛了。那在战术上面，或者是感觉好像，当然闪电狼他会稍微比较有优势。教练，你觉得会不会在这场比赛当中？对闪电狼在下礼拜对你们来讲，这个礼拜会有点压力，甚至没有太足够的时间可以练习。
对于闪电狼的话，我们开始进 HQ 的时候是分析了他们的阵型跟他们有可能的打法之后，我们决定哪里长招哪里长，哪张图哪里长。所以对于我们一开始的目标就是直接是以冠军赛为主，所以所有做的准备也都是为了闪电狼在做，所以我们也做了很多，就是毕竟这几天还是给大家看了很多张，给闪电狼看了很多张我们的地图，所以这个是一个很大的对他们是个很大的优势，而且他们也可以事先选图，因为他们是主场，所以这个赛制的话就是给闪电狼很大的优势，就是给第1名，毕竟他们就是循环赛的时候有优良的成绩，所以我也不能怪他们。
是，那当然我想要问一下3位一个问题哦，最后一个问题就是，假设你们在下礼拜冠军了，那对于一个选手跟一个团队来讲，会很希望能够，比如说参加不一样的一个季赛，我们就举一个例子，可能 OGN 的 Apex 联赛是目前现在可能强度最强的，有没有可能有机会去参加其他联赛呢？像 OGN 这种类型的。
If we win the tournament here, would we be interested in participating in other tournaments, especially a tournament like Apex?
Naturally, even if we don't win here, we have always wanted to just see how far we could go, and any tournament that would let us in, we would, absolutely.
就是如果就算我们不赢的话，我们还是以就是进步为目标啊。所以如果有什么比赛我们可以参加的话，我们都会尽力去参加，然后去取得优良的成绩。
We don't have much time, obviously, because of the World Cup and Season 2 coming up, so not much in the future, but maybe later on.
就是毕竟我们这次打完联赛之后，还有世界杯要打，就是7月21号的时候开始，所以这个比赛完之后，过不到3个礼拜，我们就要开始打世界杯联赛。之后世界杯的那个比赛完了之后，我们还需要去回来台湾参加第2季。之后又有世界杯的话，我们就没有什么活动的空间。但是预计的话，计划是这3个比赛。
是，那么也感谢3位接受我们访问 ，Thank you，Congratulations。这边我们跟观众 say goodbye。
Bye。
拜拜。
Well, some interesting points brought up there as well. And I mean, I believe this is something that was brought up to me back like a long time ago. Gumba and RQT played World of Warcraft together. So
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the other game that they're talking about.
they touch on that there as well. You know, I mean, I've played that business before, and decision making is extremely key. You know, and you can tell that they were obviously a fair few raid leaders in their time, and now obviously even better Overwatch players really leading Blank. all the way to the OPC Grand Final. So just take a quick recap of the evening and yesterday's Grand Final coming through. Obviously last night AHQ picked themselves up the first 2 maps, but Blank answer back and clean the series out 4-2. And then this evening Blank opened this one up with Fire picking up the first 3 maps there. AHQ coming back to life on Route 66, picking themselves up that first map, but then Blank close it out on Numbani as both teams unable to cap that first point, take it to that golden point on Control, and Blank pick that one up. And so Blank will indeed be moving on to the final, taking on Flash Wolves, which will indeed start next weekend. So do keep your eyes peeled for that one there. That is going to be an absolute amazing series. The 2 best teams from the APAC region duking it out for that 3 million Taiwanese dollar prize pool, which is going to be absolutely excited. I can't wait. How do you feel about this these playoff Smite before we wrap up?
I can't hide it anymore. I live in Oceania. I hope Blank do very well for the region, but of course it's a tough opponent in Flash Wolves.
All right, so thank you very much for tuning in tonight from all of us at Full Circle. We'll see you next week for the Grand Finals. I've been Dallas Easy Fighter. This has been Matt Smite Ross, and to you all,